Whoa. Hello, hello. Just getting started. Let's kick this thing off. Thanks for the likes already. Awesome. I'm a little late, 15 minutes late to my scheduled 7 p.m. Pacific time. But thanks everybody for joining. Welcome, Traveler. Welcome, DG21. I'm just getting started, so TikTok is just getting the message sent out to all the followers, which we have a lot of new followers in the past 48 hours, which is really awesome to see. Clearly, the last video that I posted hit a nerve, which was incredible. So there's been 4,000 new followers. My TikTok account and YouTube channel is fairly new, so it's really nice to see it growing and people are resonating with what I'm talking about in our politics, because I just don't talk about the problems. I actually talk about solutions constantly, and I don't talk about issues that are cultural issues, or I tend to stay away from those issues because that's not the biggest problems that we have in our society and in our political system. So arguing about blue versus red, that's typically not what you're going to get here. Sometimes we delve into issues and I try and point people in the right direction based on when they're going too far off the reservation. And otherwise, we try and keep people focused on figuring out how to unite people behind the most important thing, which is this right here. And I want to know what you guys think, and I'm going to be answering questions. Thanks for the comments. I agree with me. I want to find someone tonight that doesn't agree, right? Think about it. Normally, everything you do, anything you do, people are going to disagree. There's always a segment that are going to disagree. But I have a feeling it's going to be hard to find someone that's going to disagree with me about this particular issue, specifically if they do it face-to-face, not face-to-face, but if they join as a guest. I'm figuring maybe someone's going to disagree in the comments, but is anyone going to be willing to jump in and actually earnestly disagree? Oh, you're right. Rick would probably disagree. You know, I actually don't think he would disagree. So maybe we'll get him in here. Let's see. So we got someone waiting already. Let's see. Maybe this is the first person. So, excuse me. So Weekends Go, you're going to be up first. Just give me a quick moment here to get more people in the chat here. And let's recap this real quick. So I believe, or I've been promoting or advocating, whether you're MAGA, liberal, anywhere in between, that we need a 28th Amendment. It's the most important foundational one. It's the one that says all elections must be publicly funded by individual human beings, and that corporations are not people, money is not speech, and then we need to ban all contributions by all special interests. I don't care if it's left-leaning contributions or right-leaning contributions. It doesn't matter. If you get rid of all the money, then our representation can only represent us, right? Because if no one's paying them, bribing them, because that's what lobbying is, it's legalized bribery, and we shouldn't have bribery, which is fraud, in our political system. So that's the thought there, and I've had a hard time finding anyone that really disagrees with this, but maybe we'll find one tonight. What's up, Mr. Global? How was your football game?
It went really well. I don't know if you caught any of it, but it was intense.
Who was it between?
Uh,
Who were
I'm
you
a,
watching tonight?
I was born in Colorado, so I'm a Denver fan.
And who were they
The
playing?
Denver and who were we facing? Denver and the Giants.
Oh, all right. So I'm hoping the Giants took that one, but it sounds like they didn't.
They did not, thankfully.
All right.
Well, you're a Mountain Time. I was surprised you're not maybe a Broncos fan.
No, I'm a New Yorker.
Oh, touche.
I'm a New Yorker, so I typically pull, but I don't really pay attention to pro ball. I just pay attention to college ball, and even that less and less these days.
Understood.
But I don't think that's what people are here wanting us to talk about.
Well,
So
I was
anyway,
just giving you
all
an
right. So
update.
now we got a big audience in here. All right, now the audience is growing. So let's talk about this. We got our first guest. We're going to stick to the 28th and or the 29th Amendment. So I'm just focused on the 28th for the most part tonight. But the 29th Amendment, in case you guys don't realize, if you haven't watched the last video that I posted that's going semi-viral, please do so. Please repost it. This is an opportunity to get thousands or tens of thousands more people on the same page about the 28th and 29th Amendment, which is there are 27 amendments right now. If we really want to bring representation back to the people, you have to do the 28th Amendment, which makes sure that only individual human beings can contribute. And the 29th Amendment would be that being a politician cannot be a career. It needs to be a temporary civic service, and that you serve in office and then you go home. It's really that simple. So welcome to the show, Weekends Go Hard. How are you today?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Good. How you doing? So are you a agree or a disagreeer?
I'd have to agree with you. The only thing is, I had a question. It kind of goes in line with what happened in the last election, but how would you feel about Musk making all those donations as an individual?
So you're right. It would not necessarily just be that. There has to be like there used to be. I can't fit everything in the prompt, but absolutely not. You have to be able to have a limit. Each individual, I think it was $2,000 or so in the past, or I think it still is, by individuals can only contribute $2,000 or something in
It's
that nature.
5,000, but just so you know that this is what people on the right are upset about with the left and their non-investigation of Act Blue, because Act Blue got everybody's social when they donated $5 to Obama, and then they maxed out their donations for them. So again, it's kind of like it goes both ways. You can't just say like, oh, it has to be done by people and there's a limit here, because there's a way around that too.
Yeah, but exactly. So you're right. And it could be that maybe there's no money in elections whatsoever other than, possibly state-funded elections. There's a lot of ways to carve this up, right? So happens on both sides. There's no, the way that I'm proposing it is just as an example of something that we could do. But of course, the devil is in the details, and we would have to make sure it's really explicit, right?
The more explicit you make it, the more you open up back doors for others. So I think as a general rule, it's a nice thing to have. But I was talking about another topic in another live about, racism and eradicating racism. And I said, it's hard to do that unless you eradicate privacy. And people struggled with understanding that. But unless you eradicate privacy, you can't eradicate racism. Unless people can't be racist in private, then you can never really get rid of it. And here's another issue with like elections. It's that you can write the explicit laws all you want to, but it's still going to have some type of backdoor, some way somebody is going to figure out how to do it. That's what crowdfunding is for loans right now, right? Since people can't qualify for traditional loans, you can get a crowdfunded solution. And that's what you're proposing right now, is like crowdfunding an election. But again, you're going to have some special interest that says, hey, well, if we can collect it in and then we can just donate in those people's name.
No, you just got to ban that
There's
too.
our way around it.
No, there's ways to prohibit that. And
How do you ban that?
You're never going to.
Those donations were considered donations from those people. They weren't considered donations from Act Blue.
Well, you close those doors, right? You make sure in the amendment that it's explicit that you cannot do those sort of things. It has to come from an individual person, a certain limit, or you could do it other ways. Like I said, you could do it publicly funded without any individual contributions. And of course, you need to have criminal acts behind it. You need to have laws behind it that if someone does contribute money from a special interest or accept money, then they're on the hook for it, right? Criminally, where they just can't take it, right? So you hold people accountable. Are you going to eradicate all corruption? No, but since Citizens United and the three other things that have happened since Reagan, Clinton, and Bush, the reduction of campaign finance restrictions of the past has allowed this incredible lawless state that we are with campaign finance.
I'll agree with you. The saddest part is that this is a libertarian and Republican issue, and liberals are mainly silent about it.
Right. Well, liberals are mainly silent.
If you look at both sides,
yeah,
if you look at right versus left,
who's talking about this? Like, other than Bernie and actually AOC a little bit, most people don't talk about this at all. Anyone in politics.
that was my point.
Right. Okay. Make sure. Yeah, we're in agreement. This is the absurdity, and this is why I do these lives, is that There are all other types of issues that people are arguing about, but both parties are fully corrupted, and neither party will want to do this. No doubt.
Well, good luck in your crusade. I mean, I really hope that more people wake up to this kind of thinking. I don't think you're going to get an amendment. I think the next amendment should be to guarantee abortion rights for women. I mean, truthfully, we should have a 28th Amendment that says, yeah, now we're going to federally address this because the court can't seem to get it right.
Well, this is how I think it would
But
happen.
that's my own.
Yeah, this is why I think this one is so important, because if you eradicate special interest money from the political system and you are able to replace the majority of politicians from both parties, I know it's a big lift. I get it. But if it could happen, every other issue, human rights issues, etc., go down the list, conservative issues, monetary spending, all that could be addressed by people that are being represented by people that are supposed to represent their government. So it's never going to be perfect. Everything is always a compromise. But all those types of social issues and cultural issues, they all get handled by representatives that actually give a shit about the people.
Main reason they don't care right now is because they know the money's more important than the vote.
That's right.
I can replace your vote with more money. And that's kind of the way that it goes. So the main thing here would be, the only thing that would actually cause this is if the liberal investigated their own like campaign finance. If they actually went into what these PACs and super PACs do for themselves, because Republicans aren't going to do it. They're just happy with the fact that they're getting this blowback from liberals that they caused themselves. Most of the lives that I'm on the left are very contentious, and they can't even listen to somebody who's in the middle. I'm a California conservative. You don't get more liberal than me.
So this is why when you watch the rest of it today, that's funny. Yeah, you said that conservative and you're liberal. But we're going to see if we find anyone that completely disagrees with this. And every other issue that we can discuss, you're going to get lots of dissension from both sides, right? But this one, very little, very few. Almost anyone that's sensible doesn't disagree with this. And that's the point, right? If we can unify against this thing, then there's an opportunity. It's a big lift, I know.
Yeah, you're going to have a real problem with the limit, because even in a capitalist system, if I make a ton of money, why shouldn't my influence be reflective of how successful I am?
Why should it be?
Again, I'm just a person.
Yeah.
Again, you're trying to tell me I'm worth as much as a homeless guy's donation. That's tough. That's a tough line to kind of follow in a place where it's like,
I don't think
well,
so.
yeah,
All men
certain
are created
people's-
equal.
Yeah, and certain men are created with mental conditions.
And
Should
certain
we
men,
listen to them?
certain men become wealthy because of the zip code they were born in. That's factual. So like we can go down and parse this to sort of discrimination views all we want. At the end of the day, we're 370 million Americans, equal voice. It all works itself out at the end. It should.
Again, good luck with it.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers, G.
All right. Cool.
BK,
Yeah.
you're so out of bounds.
I know. I am a whack job. Let me tell you.
You have mental conditions.
The mental condition is too much optimism and hope and this wild, crazy belief that, if there was 50 to 70 million people, we could actually do something about this shit.
Exactly.
So crazy, right? But no, I appreciate everybody has their views, and there was nothing wrong.
No, he was pretty level-headed. I was just
All
being
right.
facetious.
So let's see if there's anybody else in the queue. No one in the queue right now. So let's just answer questions on the comments. If you have questions, please ask them in the comments. I hope I'll see them. And if not, just repeat it until I do see it, as long as it's a good question. All right, Milton Friedman, you are up next. So let's get you in here. Challenge to anyone who disagrees with this. You're welcome to join if you agree with it as well. I mean, the whole point of this is I understand most people are going to agree with this, and I want to hear from those people as well. But it's about please sharing these lives and the videos and letting people know that if there were enough people who wanted to do this, it absolutely could be done. I'm not saying it will be done. I'm just saying it could be done and would be done with enough support. And we're a long, long way from that type of support, but it's all about starting off and raising awareness. So Milton, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good.
What generation are you and where do you sit on the political spectrum?
Gen X, federal libertarian, right wing, I guess.
Okay, cool. So what do you think about a possible, if we could ever pass a 28th Amendment, just, if you had a magic wand, and would you agree with this general overview?
No.
All right, we got a
Because,
naysayer. Why not?
okay, so the founders well understood that you couldn't separate money from democracy. And that's why democracy was contained in the lower house. The states were supposed to elect the senators, and the electors were supposed to elect the president. So, number one, we have to wrangle the democracy back to the House of Representatives. Another thing is a Scottish proverb: laws are like spider webs, they catch the flies and let the hornets go free. Meaning that no matter how many anti-bribery laws you pass, Walmart and Jeff Bezos will always be able to bribe the congressman. So you think outside the box and you legalize bribery.
Oh boy.
What that will do will diminish the power of the upper class, because now the little guy can actually buy votes outright. I'll give you $5 to vote for me. Without that mechanism, the power of the rich is only inflated because they can afford to bribe. The little guy can't.
All right, I don't even know where to start. You've spoken. I respect your view as a true libertarianism, as a someone who is no offense to you, but I think you're off the reservation with that view. But it's your view, so be it. But I'm gonna call a spade a spade. It's very much just like if you are a true libertarian and you understand that libertarianism is a political philosophy, but it has no practical value and it doesn't exist around the world. It's a philosophy. It's not a functional style of government, because there are none of them. And it believes that you have the rights of the individual will always do the right thing, or you put the responsibility always in the individual. I get it. It sounds great, but functionally, it's off the reservation. And I have a lot of people I know that are in the crypto space and so forth that claim to be libertarians, but it's just not practical, because you have sociopaths and psychopaths and authoritarians, and you need a strong government and you need a strong central government. And if you believe we don't, we're just not there in human evolution, nowhere near that.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree
Okay,
with you.
cool. That's surprising. But you answered it like a libertarian. Go ahead, Mr. Global.
I wonder if you brought up blockchain. I wonder if there'd be a way to get these types of campaign fundings, putting them on some sort of public blockchain that was more, and I guess maybe it already is public, is it not?
Yeah, it's fully public and transparent, except it's anonymous, so you don't know who's doing it, right? So that's...
Well, I feel like that maybe is where we need to change that up. I don't feel like that should be anonymous.
Well, it would never... that's the whole point of having a decentralized system. It is anonymous by design, and it has a lot of benefits that prevent governments from sort of having tyranny or control over a financial system. Like, that's the whole philosophy behind it.
Right.
So yeah, it has a lot of transparency about it, and other than the anonymity part. But that's literally the whole basis, that the whole thing exists because of that. Like, you take that away and you may as well just have, not change anything. But thanks for joining. I appreciate Milton. Thanks for your points of view. We had someone who doesn't necessarily agree. It wants to be bribery fully transparent. I believe bribery is fraud. And I think most people would agree with that. If you ask for a favor and you pay for that favor, that is bribery. So thanks for your points of view, though. All right, so the next guest is going to be MTC STW. Did you see any good questions come by in the comments?
I was looking up.
Yeah, if you happen to see any, just point them out to me too.
I was Googling our past campaign funding things and how it works. So
Okay. MTC, just hold on 1 second. It will take you next. I just want to do housekeeping. These lives, I do them, trying to do them every day, multiple times a day, at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. If you haven't followed me yet, please follow. Please look at the plan right there. You can find the link underneath my profile. A couple hundred people have seen it in the last couple of days, which is really cool. There's a 5-step plan that if we wanted to do something like this, plus much more, it's right there. You can find the link under my profile. But it doesn't matter if I never have enough relevancy and enough reach to the plan. So that's why I ask everybody, like, I can't do it. We have to do it. Literally, we have to do it. All I can try and do is organize it and raise awareness to it, but I can't do it alone. It will take this 22,000 people that are following me so far, plus turn that to 100,000, turn that to 1 million, and then we actually will start making tracks in this effort and see where it leads. So MTC, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts?
Hey, what's up?
What
Well,
generation and political spectrum, please?
generation, man.
Yeah,
I've actually never been asked
yeah,
that.
XYZ, or if you just say roughly your age, then I'll tell
I'm a
you.
cusp baby. I feel like Gen X and millennial. I'm at the end of the millennials, beginning of Gen X
Okay, what year are you born?
or Gen Z. I mean, I'm sorry, Gen Z. Is that the one?
Yeah,
I'm about to be
what year you're
30,
born?
29, 96.
96. So you
It's
are
the end of the
a,
millennials.
yeah, and the
Last
millennials.
millennial.
Yep, right about there. Okay, and political spectrum?
Sick left radical.
Sick left radical. See, I always say people always tell you who they are. You just have to listen, and I heard you loud and clear, which is great. I'm not
Absolutely.
shaming you. Like, I like when people tell you who they are, and most people do. Most people just don't actually pay attention.
I have to look that up.
Absolutely. I mean, personally, I'm not someone who peddles in any BS. There's no point. Especially people online, they crave authenticity with all this AI slop out here. So,
Right. So what do you think
uh,
about a 28th Amendment? If you had a magic wand and we could do it, should we do it?
yeah. Well, I have an interesting take for you. We could probably have a discussion, but my question to you, very simple. Do you think it's the money that's the problem, or the fact that most of us, don't have any money to participate in the system?
I have an answer for it, but I'm just curious to understand your point of view a little deeper.
Okay. Well, my point of view really is that it's not necessarily that the money is the problem, because when you look at it, fundamentally it's that 350 million people don't have any money really to participate in any politics in any meaningful way, and that really just comes to a resource allocation issue. Which, as a sick left radical, I do not believe in the existence of billionaires. There makes no sense to me that we would have a class of people leeching off of us. Um, and so, with that being said, if we did not have billionaires, if we did not have mega corporations, if all of us fundamentally had substantially more equity, the money in the politics wouldn't be an issue because all of us would have money to throw around at politics.
Well, but why? Okay, that makes some sense. I think I'm on the same page, but like, why? Like, we all know that if you accept money from anyone, an employer, you have a responsibility to do something. So no matter who you accept
Sure.
money for, it's influence, right? It's whether it's you're buying a product or
It
service.
depends. It depends in what context. So, in the context of accepting money from an employer, it is influenced because of the power dynamic. But in the context in which I'm saying, if we could wave our magical wand, like you said, and tomorrow we woke up and all of us, majority of us were millionaires, but the poorest people were still like 100,000aires, still had substantial disposable income. All right. Just in that world, the power dynamics would be shifted. And so using money as, because things cost money. Money is how we pay for services, all these things. A campaign needs money. You got to be bussed around. You got to pay people to work for you, all these things. And so just with more people having money, you can see very clearly that a lot of things would be substantially different.
Are
The
you an
power
advocate?
dynamics would be different.
Are you an advocate for communism?
If you're gonna pin me down, are you pinning me down?
I'm
Are you
just
pinning me
asking you.
down?
No.
You know,
I said it
Are we
nicely.
using buzzwords? Because that's the thing about it. Look,
No,
if
no,
you
I'm
want to
not.
shut the door,
We're
I'm
not here to crucify anybody.
yeah, I'm here for the
look, if you
terms what
want to
they.
shut the door, am I gonna sit here and say I'm the best red communist? Absolutely not. But there's no way, shape, or form that you can tell me that capitalism is an appropriate system. That a system founded on the extraction of resources and the trafficking of brown bodies is an appropriate system.
So you're trying to tell me though, if let's assume you are an advocate for communism. Let's just take that
We'll
position for a
assume
minute.
that.
All right.
Let's assume that I'm the president of the Communist States of America.
Okay.
Let's just assume that.
All right. Perfect. So are you suggesting that communism is some nirvana world where you wouldn't extract things out of the earth, for instance, and in order to maintain power or have influence over those
No.
non-communist states?
No. It would be a world in which the extraction of that, so let's say where it's being extracted from, for example, a lot of that equity would be maintained in the people, that are directly being affected by these things.
Okay. But Marx envisioned a state that would eventually wither away, meaning, right? So communism is meant to have, but in reality, the state became more powerful and you actually had a disparity from the power versus the powerless or, the common worker.
Okay, and so
I mean, that's the
what do we
reality,
see
right? We're not
today
talking,
under this?
we did talk about a magic wand. Go ahead.
Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. What do we see today in the reality of capitalism? That realistically, people are starving in the streets when food is available.
No,
When
no.
housing is
That's not what you're
available.
saying.
People don't have access to health care. Where if you're not seeing that,
No.
I'm sorry,
Well,
but
hold
I don't
on.
think you're
You
looking.
are saying in the United States, but in many other capitalistic systems that have some socialistic safety nets, you don't see that at all.
I'm only focusing on the United States. I want to stay focused on the greatest country in the world. People get caught up. I'm not trying to feed all that.
Yeah, but my point is with
whatever.
proper regulations, you could have the same thing here and then you wouldn't have homelessness and you wouldn't have any of that. We could easily solve that.
That could never happen under capitalism.
That's not true. Because we're not just pure unregulated capitalism like libertarian would want us to be. We are actually a regulated system. We're just not very
Sure.
regulated, which leads to this.
Sure, but regulated capitalism is still capitalism, which fundamentally is the extraction of resources for a shareholder class.
Okay.
I mean, the argument could be made for a communist society as well.
Sure, but who are the shareholders in a communist society? By default, the shareholders are the people. In a capitalist society, by default, the shareholders are people who have capital.
Just in theory. That's in theory. It's not in practical. That's not how the Soviet.
That's reality. That's reality.
No, there was.
I mean, if it has rigid transparency in a communist world, then maybe, but I
All right.
don't think
I
that's
actually-
gonna be.
Sorry, I actually enjoyed this conversation. Because I don't mind. I just don't like to go too far. I am a believer, and I think most Americans are, sadly not enough these days, that the Constitution of the United States, freedom, liberty, law and order, etc., also built on a capitalistic system, is relatively the best form of government and has led to a lot of peace around the world. Not entirely. So that's when we get too far out of the bounds talking about ideologies.
That's fine.
I can respect your point of
That's
view.
fine.
I think it's wrong, and I don't think it's very American, and I think most Americans would agree with that.
That's fine. I apologize if you would
You don't have to apologize.
take what I'm saying as that, because if I were more American, then I would believe that people that don't look like me are only 3/5 of a person. If I were an American, I would think that I could, I would think a lot of things.
That was then. That's
Frankly, I'm
not
a
now.
very empathetic person.
Right.
No, hold on, please. Because you said the U.S. Constitution, all right, the document of our country.
And the evolution that
was
it
one of the
allowed.
best hold on, please.
All right,
Hold on, please.
don't forget
Was
about the
one of
evolution.
the best documents ever written.
Mhm.
The evolution is irrelevant. The evolution is irrelevant.
No, because it was meant to be amended. It was meant to go with the times. You're applying 18th century morals to a 21st century world.
That's not how life works.
Of course it is.
Morals
That's
are
how
just
it's been working
morals.
for
It doesn't
250
matter
years.
when things are.
Okay, we're going to disagree, and that's okay. I do appreciate your point of view, and I thanks for coming on and sharing your position.
I appreciate that. I'm not trying to be combative. I could see immediately from our difference of perspective that you grew somewhat dismissive of me. I'm not some sick left radical in my mom's basement. I'm well versed in
No, I know
I'm
you are.
very
Oh,
good at it.
you're very
I got a
knowledgeable.
401k,
I'm not
studied
dismissive.
in, I'm well read in history.
Absolutely.
I'm
I'm not dismissive
I don't
of
see
you as
how
a
we
person.
can look. I don't see how we can look at the United States Constitution, okay, and see the same thing, because I see a document where rich white people ruled, subjugated masses of people, not only women, but people of color. And right now, I see America doing the exact same thing in the form of gerrymandering on both sides, in the form of, it started with money and politics. And that's another great example of this country acting exactly how it was founded, as a capitalist nation for rich people to subjugate masses of poor people.
Okay.
That's just textbook. That's textbook America.
I would ask you to think of the Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson, to look at it as a visionary document of that he thought the world was, that America should go towards. Not that it was at that time. It was more of a manifesto along with a legal document where all men are created equal. And even though it wasn't at the time, that's where they knew slavery was wrong. They knew lots of things that they were doing at the time were wrong.
If we just take away the slaves, let's pretend the slaves didn't exist. White people who did not own property could not participate in the electoral system that was created by Thomas Jefferson.
Right. Okay.
The only we often get bogged
We're
down
not
in
even
the
talking about
past.
slaves here.
Right.
I'm
I mean,
talking about today.
Yeah, it was property
we can
owners.
jump to today.
That was a form of
We can jump
democracy. You could have probably called, I don't know what the actual form would have been called. It was a representative democracy, but only for property owners at that time. That's fine. That's how it was. That is fact. You are right. That's how it was, but that's not what it's evolved into. And that was the point, that the Constitution was designed to allow it to be amended and to change over time.
It's exactly, you're right. It hasn't evolved because we're living in, realistically, the exact same thing. It goes right back to your notion of money in politics.
It hasn't evolved like
of that property.
Right. We can agree with that. It hasn't evolved because of this. That would be my position. Because of the people don't have the influence they should in elections, and because representation doesn't represent all of us, it hasn't evolved in the way you would ideally would want it to, because of all these influences. But anyway, I have a bunch of other people waiting in line, so I appreciate your view. I'm absolutely not dismissive of your views. You're very knowledgeable, and you understand your history and your political ideologies, and that's awesome. We just have different viewpoints.
I appreciate that, buddy. We'll chat more in the future.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Welcome back anytime. All right. I hope, things can get a little gritty, testy at times, but that's totally fine, right?
The youth is desperate for a fundamental change, and I see a lot of them jumping to that communist boat, and I don't think it's as beautiful and perfect as they think it is.
No, it comes with a lot of tyranny as well. Both sides, fascism and communism, do come with some tyranny. Maybe not internally as much, but they does come with a massive, in practical purposes, from a practical outcomes perspective. Communism also leads to a lot of favoritism on certain classes and certain races internally as well. History has proven that. So is this MAGA Live? Welcome, Kirby. This is absolutely not MAGA Live. Is that why? Is it the red? Is it the bright blood red? This is Independence.
What's the flag behind me?
Oh, that's right. It's the flag. Yeah, absolutely not. Staunch independents here, advocating for the 28th Amendment. Elections must be publicly funded. All right, we're going to go through this faster. Fire 1969. I have a feeling I know what generation you are, unless that references something else. We're going to go through this faster. Everybody gets about 2 minutes. If it's really interesting, we'll go a little bit longer, but generally around 2 minutes. Jen says, how long are you on for? I don't know. We just run this until we run out of things to say. So at least an hour. I would say at least an hour longer. and then we go from there. So welcome, Fire 1969. How you doing tonight?
How you doing, sir? It's Fireman, 69 year. I was born, obviously, Gen X, and I consider myself a constitutionalist. It does not mean I'm a scholar, like I know everything about the Constitution. I just believe in what the Constitution was meant to represent. And I was just kind of wanting to pick up for the young man that was up here before to kind of look at this. So in his state of mind, right, if people 200 years from now, so would they look at what's going on right now? And they could say the same thing, right? That he's saying about the founding fathers, 200 years ago. Well, they could say, well, just be, like he's thinking that we should become, communistic or whatever the case may be, because we're not there yet, right? We're still in this area that we're at now. Does that mean that, let's say his ideal was right? Should 200 years ago they be dismissive of him? He's advocating for that, right? So I think it's to your point, like Jefferson and all them, they may have not been perfect men, but they had a vision for our country. And you don't just dispel that and throw it away, throw the baby out with the bathwater because they were not perfect human beings. None of us are, right? And so our nation may not be what we hope it to be, but it's up to, like you said, we are able to change the amendments. We're able to steer our country in a direction that we hope that is inclusive, that is for all men and women. We are a beacon for the rest of the world. I don't care who says what, okay? And our country has done that over the last 200 years. Didn't do it perfectly. We've made a shit ton of mistakes. But again, just because maybe Martin Luther King had some, extramarital affairs, whatever the case may be, that doesn't take away the overall of that man's work that he did for the civil rights movement. I mean, that to me, that's just asinine to say he wasn't a big part of our country and where we are today because maybe he wasn't the perfect husband. So to me, that's just crazy thinking. So I totally get where you gentlemen are coming from, and I think y'all are on the right path. I absolutely agree with the 28th Amendment, where you're going with there. We got to get this money out of politics. Absolutely.
Well said on everything. I would like to point out to the last caller and to others, based on what you just said, it comes down to people are fighting or talking about political ideologies and arguing one is better than the other. And I would argue ours is by far the best. The reason these all ideologies are imperfect is not because the ideology is imperfect. It's because the people behind the ideologies that are implementing them are imperfect. And those ideologies often fail, just like our system is. The Constitution is an incredible document. It was designed to evolve. The reason we are here today where we are is because it's a people problem. It's not a document problem.
Yes, sir. I agree with you 100%. And if people would learn, I can tell from, I say I can tell, I believe from looking at you that you're older like I am. And we can see that.
I've just aged 20 years in the past 2 months from doing these lives.
I hear that, man. If we gave each other a break, people are just, I don't even like to tell people where I fall politically because I can have a conversation with anybody. But if I tell them that I voted, just lose me right here, right? That I voted for Trump. That's it. That shuts me down for any liberal, any Democrat person, whatever. I am now a fascist. I'm a racist. I'm a this. It doesn't matter where I come from, my background, or anything like that. The dialogue, it stops.
Because MAGA has sucked all the wind out of into normal conservatives or soft people who are sensible and reasonable. Liberals don't even think they exist anymore.
Right. But there are extremists. And here's the thing that just drives me nuts. There are extremists in every party, every group, whether it be a woman group, a man group, a black group, a gay group. It doesn't matter. There are extremists in and they always seem to be the ones who get the majority of attention. And the rest of us who are the majority are silenced and our voice has been stripped by these extremists.
That's a perfect segue into when you're talking about the most extremists. If you haven't watched the last video I published, it was about the most nefarious two groups in our government sort of the coup d'etat group that are infiltrating our government from within. And they are the white Christian nationals, and they don't represent good American Christians. They are just an extreme group that want to take America into a theocracy, right? A religious state. And they're also the corporate dictators. And these are the people from Peter Thiel's group and the old PayPal mafia, which I now call the dark MAGA mafia. And it's those two groups that have perverted, specifically the Christian nationals, that have perverted, Christianity in general. And those are the ones that are really dangerous in terms of special interests, because they're working from the inside.
Well, I'm an atheist, and so I don't subscribe to a lot of that. I think, to me, religion needs to be fully out of our politics. I mean, that's
how the
whether
Constitution was designed. It's a secular document, which means exactly that. It's not
right.
supposed to have any laws based on religion.
Absolutely. And I mean, I understand, anyway, we could get into
Yeah.
a different, I don't want
But I
to
appreciate
go
your
that
points of
way.
view. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, folks. And gentlemen, I appreciate y'all's time.
Thanks so
I'll
much.
give you a follow. Y'all have a good one.
Awesome. Thanks, Fireman.
Somebody said that he voted to take away their health care because he voted for Trump.
Well,
I see that just
yeah.
that's just I don't get that. That's such it's a wall. There's no segue off of that. That's a dead end.
Well, from a singular point of view, it's, it is, but from a collective point of view, that person's looking at it just their health care. And that's like one of the most important thing in our lives is making sure I can get health care. So I actually can relate to both sides, right? They weren't thinking about healthcare. They were thinking about draining the swamp in terms of MAGA. And they had some, which I think was a bullshit, that he's not draining the swamp. He's not doing anything. And at the same time, people feel like maybe they're losing their healthcare, which they are right now because of the shutdown, and their healthcare rates are going to go up. So both are valid, in my opinion, to some degree. But again, like I always say, Mr. Global, you don't have to agree with these are personal views. The 28th Amendment is not a personal view. It's a principle. It's a value. Everything else can be personal views, basically. All right, try and go through these a little faster. Pano, well, I'm not even going to try. You can try with this username. Maybe I should just make up names for individuals that have usernames that you can't pronounce. All right, they're not joining.
Mr. P.
George GM4, you're going to be up next if you're still around.
Howdy, how you doing?
Hey, man, good evening. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Generation and political leanings.
So I am Gen Z, but like 1998. So I think that's Gen Z. And I'm starting in my own party about beavers. Well, I'm a leftist.
What was that first part?
Yeah. I'm Gen Z, 1998.
Yeah, and then after that?
No, the
I'm starting a
beavers?
party about beavers. Yeah, beavers. When this country before was colonized by Europeans, there was 250 million beavers, and they prevented wildfire, drought, and flooding, and they created most of the lakes we have. So we need to revive the beavers. But that's just kind of just like, that's a better mascot than things that kick you. Or
I don't know if you're
I mean,
trolling. Are you trolling here or
I think he's serious.
I'm here to just say that has nothing to do with what I'm here to talk about.
Okay.
You just asked, so I told you what my reality
Oh, cool.
is.
All right, 28th Amendment.
So first, I just wanted to clarify something. This is also not why I'm here, but you said publicly funded. Public funded elections means the government pays, not the individuals. What you're advocating for is privately funded elections.
No, I'm actually
and what I'm
advocating for one or the other, a potential variation of one of those two things. There's many ways to skin this cat. But go ahead.
Oh, well, that's great. We just passed legislation in California that I think opens up the ability for public funding. So, anyways, well, that's good to understand. So the reason I'm here is, I don't think this fixes the problem at all. I think the problem in our elections is that we allow for commercials. I think we need to make commercials illegal. If you've ever been to a swing state during an election and spoken to voters, you hear the commercials and you hear the people just repeating the commercials to you.
But commercials are paid. Commercials are paid for by money, though.
Yeah, but regardless, like if you just say, "Oh, there's the commercials are the problem," you're trying to say, "Oh, there's too much money," but you need money, like he said, to pay for buses, to pay for food, to pay for volunteers, to pay for shirts. You can't just be cutting out money. The problem is the commercials. You're brainwashing people. It's bad. It's Pavlov's dog experiment.
It's free.
Train a dog to
Okay.
drool. Right? And when you have this crazy stuff in your head, you have to tell 5 people, right? And if you're an isolated person, which is who they target, then you're drooling on your ballot, and that's exactly how they won elections.
Who
It's
pays for most of the
psychological
commercials,
manipulation.
though? Who pays for most of the commercials? The candidate
PACs
or
and
super
stuff, but
PACs? Right.
super PACs and candidates, but the money is not the issue. It's the commercials. You can't just, if you just cut out, you're not addressing the actual issue that you're brainwashing people that are isolated. So
So
if you just ignore that fact and say, well, it's the money that's the problem. And that's why do you think all the politicians say it's the money that's the problem? Because it's not. It's the commercials. It's the brainwashing. That is the issue. That is how elections are decided. I have
you-
like in states, like I have pamphlets and like literally that senator from Arizona that won, I forget his name. He literally had like these pamphlets that were like teaching children like this person's liar, this person's senator. Like it's brainwashing. It's manipulation.
all
We need to make
all
commercials illegal.
information, everything you're absorbing on social media is a form of manipulation, right? And brainwashing. Like all information has influence. So whether it's commercials or whether it's pamphlets or whether it's aliens dropping, space lasers with messages on it, like it's free speech, right? It's speech. So you can say it a
All right,
lot of
but when
times.
someone's
It's just not resonating with me how you don't think money is the issue. It just doesn't resonate.
I think he's
Well,
saying
do you
both.
know how
I
much it
think you have
costs
to
to
do
get a
both.
bus to move a person, to move volunteers to a place? Do you know how much it costs to move people to the polls? That costs a lot of money.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that money does. It has nothing to do with bad things. It has to do with building community.
You are
It costs
pointing,
a lot of money to
yeah.
build community, and that's what elections are about. And
You
yeah,
just
when
want
you're
our-
listening to music on YouTube, you don't have you didn't ask to be inundated by political rhetoric every single commercial. It's harassment. It's like verbal abuse basically. And a lot of it is based in lies. And it's manipulation. So that is the issue, is the commercials. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people literally repeating verbatim commercials that have been brainwashing that they've been trying to brainwash me with them too.
Well,
So
people
if you have a-
people
if
come on
you
here
need to
all
go
the
to a school
time.
station, you need to knock on doors.
People come on
What?
here all the time repeating talking points that they've gotten from somewhere else. Like, we're a republic. We're not a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. I mean, you hear the same stuff from news media and so forth. So, I mean, whether it's
You
commercials or news
choose
media.
to listen to news. You choose to listen to politicians.
Hey,
You're
I'm not
choosing to have
arguing
commercials
that it's not
every 5
exploitation.
seconds.
I'm just saying under the Constitution, there is a freedom of speech. You can claim that it's just commercials, and I respect your opinion. I just respectfully say no chance that it's not. That's not the real core of the problem. It's not the root cause of the problem. I think most people would agree that the root cause is greed and money.
Have you knocked doors in a swing state and talked to voters during an election?
I've spoken to lots of voters, but I haven't knocked doors in a swing state. I get it.
Yeah,
I'm not doubting what you're saying.
That's the reality on the ground. They're
Right.
manipulating people with commercials that they don't have a right. Every 5 seconds when you're listening to music, you don't want to hear Trump's rhetoric about transgender people getting surgeries. No one asked for that. He doesn't have a right to be just sending his political propaganda out to you.
but super
The
PACs. If there was
commercials
no
are the
super
issue.
PAC money,
If you address commercials, you're not going to fix anything.
Okay.
Nothing will be fixed. You're just wasting your time with this.
all right.
That's how I see
Yeah,
it.
we can go back and forth. I appreciate your point of view. It's interesting. I'll think about it some more, and maybe we'll talk again in the future.
And also, sorry, the other thing is we need an actual holiday for elections, a real holiday. No grocery stores open, nothing open besides a hospital.
Can't
Like,
argue.
people are making elections based on information. They don't have time to get the information. We need at least 1 day, if not 2 days.
That's fair.
So if you're going to be making an amendment about elections and you're not including an actual holiday, then you're still disadvantaging the poor people. You're still manipulating people who work 40 or 60 or 80 hours a week. You're abusing people. You're not helping the actual issue. You're not actually helping people learn anything.
Fair point.
You're not actually helping people get educated. All you're doing is saying, well, corporations can't do stuff.
Okay,
There's good
George.
corporations,
George,
there's bad
land the plane here, George.
All right. And it should also be a felony for politicians to lie when they're writing policy and directly lie about what they're doing. But
Okay.
in terms of election, you need to ban commercials and you need to have at least 1 day holiday.
Got
and if
it.
you don't
We
do that,
got
then you're
it.
wasting.
I know. You repeated it. I get it. You're good.
I landed the plane on closing statement.
All right.
I mean, I'm sorry. If you hear all the politicians saying something which is what they say is this, right? Every Democrat says this. This isn't some special idea about corporations and money. Then clearly it's not the actual problem,
Are you now landed
right?
and are you
You're
taxing?
just
Are you
looking very
taxing to the
possible.
terminal now, George? I mean, are the passengers out of the plane? Like, where are we now?
Hey,
Yeah,
I'll
you
be
are
honest.
repeating their
I'll be
talking
honest,
point.
George.
That's
I'll
all
be
you're
honest,
doing is
George.
repeating a leftist talking point that's been
You're
repeated
right.
to
George,
you. And you're like,
George,
right,
enough.
but it's not the actual problem.
Okay,
You're
enough.
right, George.
You can talk to George now because
He's
George.
not wrong. He's not wrong. He's got some good points.
Oh, they're all valid, even the commercials part. I'm not going to argue that commercials don't have enormous influence. I'm not. Yeah, he's right. It's just the root cause we disagree on.
For sure. The idea that maybe people don't have a lot of time to look into specific candidates, so they're just watching TV and they see an ad come across and they're just like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
I'm gonna vote for him now."
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah, I do too. All right, George is up next, or Jorge. I never know how to. Sometimes it's George, sometimes it's Jorge. Maybe I lost him. Nope. Oh, he dumped. He went doom scrolling. That's often happens when you're waiting for your turn. You start doom scrolling. All right, there he is. He's coming in. All right, thanks for everybody. By the way, please follow. Please watch my last pinned video if you want to actually do this. It's not just talking about problems. We talk about these issues just to get each other's perspectives. Don't have to agree, but we did have a couple people disagree with this. I think at least one, maybe the last one as well, sort of, yeah. But anyways, I think he thinks that the 28th Amendment idea, elections must be funded by individuals, and we should ban corporations. He thought that was purely a leftist talking point. He didn't think that was. I don't ever hear anybody on the left talking about this other than Bernie and AOC.
I couldn't exactly know where he was going, so
Okay.
the message was a little off. George has been in here before, though, just so you know.
All right. Thanks for the reminder. Welcome, George.
Yeah, I was here briefly. How's it going?
Can you remind us what generation and the political spectrum? And then what do you think about the 28th Amendment idea?
I guess I'd be, what am I, millennial? Yeah, I'm a millennial.
Okay.
And what political spectrum? I'm a conservative.
Okay, cool. So is this a leftist idea, this 28th Amendment, elections should be funded by individuals or publicly funded, and that corporations should not have, that corporations are not people, and money should not be speech?
I think that, I'll disagree for the sake of the argument. I think I could see why somebody would say it's leftist. It's probably leftist because, America's kind of been like the capitalist hub of the world for a long time. So I think to say that corporations aren't individuals is, well, what are they if not made up of individuals, right? So to say that.
All right. What's the definition of a person?
The definition of a person?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know the definition.
Yeah, you actually would. I mean, I know I'm putting you on the spot and I'm not meaning to do that. It's really what any 3-year-old would tell you what a person is. It's a human being, an individual human being. That's a person.
Right, but what is a corporation then?
It's a made up. It's a made up entity. It's an artificial entity that happens to have individual people working in it.
Yeah, but it's private property that belongs to said person, so it's an extension of the person.
Do corporations get a vote?
Not.
So are they people?
Directly.
So should they?
Well, they do through influence. I mean, many people get right. I mean, you would say that for politics, the best way to impact politics is to influence it directly. Wouldn't you agree?
If you can get away with it, absolutely. And you should be able to. I'm not advocating that companies shouldn't have influence. I'm just advocating that they shouldn't have paid influence that is so outweighs what people have. So, the Constitution is based on, the preamble, we the people, and a person is literally a individual human being, not a collective of human beings, not a union of human beings, not a corporation. And if it's an individual, I mean, that's the definition. And then money is just a means to trade goods and services.
It's a little bit more than that. It's an instrument of freedom. And if the person has collected a lot of money, they have the right, they reserve the right to use that instrument in the way they see fit. And if it's for them, if it's through a corporation or if it's through individual donations,
Only
that's
only if
within
this
their right.
only if the citizenship allows that to happen, which we are right now, right?
Well, there's no reason why we shouldn't, because what you end up running into, I think, if you try to ban it, it's just like what would stop an individual, for example, like let's say you go through with this 28th Amendment, what would stop someone from, giving a credit to anybody that like essentially dispersing money out for a political gain, like to individuals that then use it toward political interest. So kind of like, when Elon Musk got a lot of flack for, you remember he paid out money to individuals to register to vote in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, and $400 million in Wisconsin, I think it was, right?
Yeah, like what's stopping individuals or corporations from variations of that concept even if you have this 28th Amendment?
Well, just think about, so you have a naturalized U.S. citizen who's one of the wealthiest men in the world, who comes from South Africa, is not even a natural born American, influencing elections in such a manner that's so out of proportion that how can that, and by anyone's measure, be considered right or in the best interest of we the people?
Easily, because even despite his contributions, he was still outspent 3-1 by the Democrats in the same election. So you can easily justify it
Okay.
in that regard. Because it's like, I mean, can't you? Like,
No.
if you're being outspent 3-1, even with the richest man in the world, funding an election, what is the real issue here?
They just got an individual, a party got elected, but at the end of the day, are those people beholden? Are those representatives beholden to their constituency in their states, or are they beholden to that guy that helped them get elected? Or
I would
gave?
say to the former, right? Because they're not beholden to Musk at all.
They're not.
How so?
Practical reality is that the representation of our country, you're seeing it with Musk's influence of going into Doge and ripping apart the government.
The Doge thing is something that most conservatives agreed with. We want a reduction of federal government.
No,
I've yet to meet a conservative that is against that. We think that the government spending to GDP is blown way out of proportion. You're seeing it at high levels, 35 to 40% since COVID.
yeah, I would say
That's
maybe billionaires should pay their fair share of taxes in corporations, and they would add.
They pay the most. They pay the most.
They do not. Corporations only pay 8%. Okay.
The top 1% pay 46% of all federal income tax.
What?
They pay more than any other country. We have the most progressive.
Corporations
taxation
only
in the
pay 8% of the revenue, of the total revenue coming in. So
Okay, this was
you're
the
saying
same
top
point
1%,
of
though.
contention the last
Yeah.
time he was in the live.
yeah, thanks, George. Thanks for your time.
I mean, I can supply you with all the data.
I'll look up the data myself. The absurdity that that 1% are contributing 46% of the revenue coming into the system. Not true. False. Don't even have to look it up. I've looked it up in the past. It's false.
What would you even look up? What
Yeah,
would you want me to look up?
you'd have to parse it. You could get any answer you want depending on what you're looking up.
Exactly.
Trump said he doesn't pay taxes. Well, I think what was the tax return he did show? That's another point. There's the 20th Amendment. No, not the 28th Amendment, but obviously all politicians, if you want to be elected for office, you should actually have to show your tax returns like has historically been done. Okay, so,
Hi.
hey, Sheila.
How y'all doing?
Good, how are you? So what generation are you, and where do you stand on the political spectrum?
I'm Gen X, and the way they're doing it is horrible, and it's just taking the American people down by the corporations putting all the money and paying everybody off so that they can run the country. It's going to probably eventually be a corporate country instead of. It's not for the people because they pay to get their way. The
Right.
companies legislate, and I mean they're all doing it, and it's a monopoly, so it's really not legal under the 25th Amendment. They're not supposed to do that, so that they could get their ways or their laws. or whatever it is they want. Like Big Pharma pays, you know, paid all that money so they could get rich and
Right. Well, the fact is, the corporations used to contribute 30% of all the revenue coming into the government in the 1960s. It was 30% of all the revenue. Today, it's 8%, and the highest. If you can mute, I'll mute you, Sheila, because we're getting some feedback. And the highest tax rate for people making more than $4 million a year, which was back in the 1960s, so it would be adjusted dramatically today, had to pay 90%. And there was nothing wrong with the country. We still had rich people then. But, you know, we all know, I had to shut you on mute, by the way, Sheila, just because we had too much feedback coming from your microphone. The fact is that the wealthy don't pay their fair share of taxes like they used to. They contribute much, much less. And I always point them, you can do the math. It's in between 2.7 and $3.2 trillion that they're stealing out of the federal government. And that doesn't even include all the tax breaks they get up front from the companies when they get subsidies and so forth. And it doesn't include all the money that oftentimes we have to clean up. The government has to clean up behind companies if they leave some sort of pollution. There's so many advantages that corporations have. They actually have more rights than human beings do because they're not criminally liable like we are as individuals. So they have more rights than individuals do, which is stunning. So I'll take you off mute, Sheila, and then I'm going to move on to the next guest.
yes, I agree. And can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. But they give, what people don't realize, if you look into it, they give, like, say, Walmart, I know for sure, billions of dollars in taxes or whatever they say it is because of, they say, theft or whatever. So they cover them. And I'm trying to articulate what I'm saying and say it right and not say wrong things. And
No, you
so
got it. You got it right. If you can wrap it up and you sort of put a, you know, a final stamp on it.
But anyway, corporations should not be able to do that and legislate bills for their, you know, for
Right.
them. So
Lobbyists,
they could have
lobbyists are
what they
writing the
want.
bills. Our
And
represent.
especially other countries. Other countries will say, are really running this country. We're not even running this country. We got vets on the street and they just sent them $2 billion.
Oh, we know, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila. Thanks
We're
for your
not
time.
happy about it. We agree.
Oh, well,
We agree.
but what can we do? What can we do?
This 28th Amendment, we have to have enough people that want to do this and then replace all career politicians or some form of that. It's going to be a big lift, but 50 to 70 million people who just agreed with this 28th Amendment, they're out there. I guarantee they're out there. I've heard thousands and thousands of comments on my videos about this. Most people think there's well over 100 million. It's just we have to get the message out there because neither political party is going to do anything about this. And then you're going to continue to have Russian influence, China influence, influence, Qatar influence, Saudi Arabia, and and dozens of other countries that are
And they're trying to destroy us. We have enough food to feed more than our country.
That's right.
But they're, and we got vets on the streets. They don't care about them. Nobody even wants to go in the military anymore.
Yep.
They'll have to draft them. We were joining them in the 80s and the 90s when, they had some kind of respect.
Yep.
And and also giving all the money when we're doing without I am struggling more than I'm 61. And, when I was young starting out, of course I struggled, but now, I mean, if I got, my home is paid for, I'd be on the street for real. Because, like Social Security and stuff does not help.
It's just not it's not elderly people either. It's also the Generation Z. It's the youngest generation that are just in really bad shape for their future. But I'm going to move on. Sheila, I appreciate your view. I wish you the very best. Thanks for joining. I hope you continue to watch and welcome back in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sheila. So a lot of
If
good comments.
corporations,
Yeah.
if corporations are going to pay to influence it, then they should be paying the most in taxes because they're the third in line out of the individual taxpayer. But then you get into a murky water too, that if they're paying the most and they're running it, we still run into the same issue.
The whole concept is
They,
based
they,
on
s-
for the people, by the people.
yeah,
I mean, if we
exactly.
don't believe in that concept anymore, then fine, throw everything away. If enough Americans say, screw it, we just want to be ruled by overlords and corporations or authoritarian, all right, I guess that's not the American way, but right, it's really, I think these
According
things are
to,
really simple. I view it as,
yeah,
right, the people that pay you are the people you answer to. They are your boss. It's really simple concepts, right? So a lot of good points today about not necessarily 100% agreeing with the 28th Amendment. But at the end of the day, if you are accepting money from somebody or some organization, and you're offering a favor in return, or you're allowing influence in the future to provide a favor in return, that is the definition of bribery. It's not complicated, right? If you give me money for something, you're not just going to give me money. You're going to give me money for some reason. And if it's not because I sold you a product or service, it's for something else.
530 billion in corporate income was last year's collection, approximately, which this amount represented about 11% of the total federal revenue for that year,
What year is that?
2024.
Okay. Last numbers I saw was 8%, and it was like 400 something billion. Okay.
This is just what I found.
So Alicia says, how do we make this happen? The 20th Amendment. Alicia, I wish I had a magic wand. It's not that easy. It could be relatively straightforward if we have 50 to 70 million people that supported this plan right here. The link is underneath my profile. But we have to grow a movement first of 50 plus million people strong. And then we communicate directly with them. Then we recruit candidates, whether they're independents or a united party or some other form. And then we get ballot access, we win elections, and then we govern and we pass the 28th and 29th Amendment. I know it sounds like a big lift, but if I'd love anyone to challenge me here, or not challenge me, but suggest how else do we do it? How else do we take or bring representation back to the people? So Brunswick, you're up next. And so thanks for that question. You have to be absolutely delusional that it can work. Marcia, I don't know if I'm delusional, maybe overly optimistic, but it's really simple. It's very binary. If you don't think it can work, well, that's fine. If you believe, if there's 70 people who wanted it to happen, it could and would happen. If there's not that many people or not 50 million people, you're right. It's binary. It has nothing to do with delusion. It's just simple math. The math proves it out. It could have, something like this could have happened in 1992 with the Reform Party if they had more votes. Something like this could have happened. So it showed that it didn't get close to happening, even though it was a potential to happen. So we just have to make it a reality, which is not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's not challenging. I'm just saying it's not complex. So Brunswick, what's up, man?
So I apologize. I don't remember your name.
TK.
TK. Okay.
And I remember you've been here before, but I don't remember.
Yes, thank you.
What generation
So,
and what on this political spectrum are you?
I was born in 62, 63 years old, so I'm in that Joneser.
Oh, that's right.
Baby
Okay, now
boomer.
I remember you saying
Okay.
that last time.
So, veteran, retired postmaster. Not that that matters what I did, but anyways, a lot of people are mad that they're paying too much taxes. And like you said earlier, the working class is paying so much, right? So why is it, are they okay? How do we communicate? Why are you okay with them not paying their fair share? You're mad because you're mad because they're not paying their share. But why is that okay with you? There's so many people that they're okay with that. Well, they pay a lot of, no, they don't. When you compare, and then when you say MAGA, you're wanting it to be like the 1950s. 60s, you got to go back to that tax base. How do we communicate that better to people? You know, you're an intelligent guy and you understand this civics, and I love your stuff, right? I do, and I totally agree with this 29th Amendment idea. But how do we communicate it to people better without anger? Because you got to come at somebody with love, compassion, and empathy. Because if we don't show more of that and not so much anger, they're never going to listen to us if we come at them with anger.
I think it just gets
Could get bloody too.
yeah.
How do we communicate that better
I think it just
to
gets
get
see
them to
that's
understand?
we have we're living in an unparalleled age of information, and the amount of information that's being consumed, most of it intended to divide by these same groups that are doing it, like
Agreed.
right.
Agreed.
So whenever we talk about something logical like this that the vast majority of people agree with, maybe it's not as sexy, or more importantly, there's other things to argue about, and negativity and arguing is louder than positivity. So talking about problems is just gets a lot more play. So there are literally hundreds of other issues that you can argue about that no one will move the needle on, because they just get stuck in their camps. And this issue, the most important one, which I believe is the most important one, is one that almost everybody agrees with. The vast majority of people will agree with it, but for some reason, we just get distracted because we're human beings and we have limited bandwidth and we're busy with our lives, and we don't focus, just like we don't at home. Lots of times we don't focus on the right things, right? We should be eating well, but why don't we eat well all the time? Why don't we do more fitness? Why don't we spend more time? Like we're just humans, right? So we get distracted by so many other things. So at the end of the day, I think it has to just be flooding the airwaves, which as much as possible, with solutions. And it can't just be me. It has to be hundreds. And there are other people doing similar things, but not enough. Not nearly compared to how many people on the right and left are screaming about their whatever particular social issue or cultural issue they feel like fighting about today in order to enrich themselves.
One thing I've learned from you through all of this is that by committing to the 28th and 29th Amendment, a lot of this problem will solve itself. The better food, the not making us sick, like that lady talked about the pharmaceutical companies, and she's 61 and can barely make it. A lot of these problems will disappear with these two amendments that they have concerns or worried about, right?
We have a common guest that shows up on here that disagrees with a lot of things that I say. I forget where I'm going with this, but he would even agree, because it's unregulated capitalism that ends up being, capitalism is designed to exploit. Literally, it's designed to exploit its host, and its host is the consumers and all Americans. That's by design is capitalism. So while I am an advocate for capitalism, I'm not an advocate for unregulated capitalism. Capitalism done right has to be a balance between exploiting the consumer and making sure there's regulations in place so that they can't overexploit, right? That they can't be a harm to society like they are in health situations. And, why can private equity firms buy housing all over the country and then people can't afford housing? Like these are just really simple things when it comes to food and healthcare and transportation, that we need to be looking out. There needs to be more regulations on these social values. People call it socialism. That's not socialism. There are certain industries that become somewhat socialized, but that doesn't lead towards socialism. A capitalistic society like ours has almost no chance ever moving to pure socialism.
Agreed in so many ways. What I don't think most people understand is a lot of different religions than our main belief system do not charge interest, and how interest is a problem.
Usury.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
compounded interest is a real problem when you pay for a house twice, three times, depending on the interest rate. And other
Oh,
countries, other religions don't do that.
It is kind of a
yeah, it's
farce.
crazy.
It's almost a farce, right? The
Yeah, so
home.
that part of capitalism and that greed that is created by that system that we're under, it just feeds that greed. And it's like we need another Teddy Roosevelt to come in and bust up all these big corporations that have been allowed to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Look at how many cable
So
companies we used to have.
Polaris the other night, TK brought up, and I've thought of this before, but he brought it up. The Article 5 Convention of States may be the easiest way because you need 34 states, and this process has never been used to amend the US Constitution. So if you can get 38 states to propose these two things, that seems a lot easier.
Or it's
You know, the
it's
initiative requires
2/3
legislation,
of the representatives in
2/3, yeah,
Congress, and then 75%
right,
of those have to ratify it.
correct. Proposed in the convention would need to be ratified by 2/4 or 3/4 of the states, 38 states, to become a law.
Yeah.
It's interesting that it's never been used, though.
Yeah. And that's because of the
It
two-party
might be the
system.
way out.
That's the two-party system in play, right? Because there's almost no way to get that threshold met unless one party was so dominant. But if any one party was so dominant, that would have led to other catastrophic things, most likely.
Touche.
I don't know if it was
Yeah.
touche, but I think that's the problem. But it's
You're
worth
right.
doing, right? You don't have to have all the career politicians replaced. You just have to have a movement that starts to replace them and hopefully replaces enough of them. Because once you have a movement big enough led by the people, let's say you even can get 30% of elected officials under a new movement. Let's just call them independents for the sake of the conversation. That movement has a lot of power, just like MAGA. MAGA is not the majority in the United States, but it sure feels like it. And conservatives would also say that it feels like MAGA is the majority party, but they're not. It's just that when a populist movement has so much power, even if it's only 30%, the rest are affected tremendously. So even if you had 30% of independent elected officials, that was very ominous sounding. That's one of those ominous sounding ones. No
Was it a
worries,
cell
Brunswick. We
phone or
heard
was
it.
it a real siren?
It sounded like a real siren. But anyway, so you get my point, right? If you had 30% of independents, if you started to have a movement where independents were getting elected, the other parties are going to have to move along with you because they can smell the smoke, they can smell the fire. Their house is burning down, and they're going to have to go along with those people.
It was a real siren.
I thought so.
I was sitting on my porch, so it's the fire whistle. And where I grew up in Minnesota, it would be that a tornado was coming. But here it's the fire whistle, so they don't all have to have pagers in this community. I apologize. That's why I muted myself.
Oh, we've had some interesting earlier today, we had someone doing their Google Maps turn-by-turn directions that we heard in the background, so it's all good.
I apologize.
We knew exactly where he was.
All right. Well, thank you, Brunswick. Thank you,
for
Brunswick.
letting me
Appreciate
come
it.
up.
Yeah. Hope to see you again.
You will.
Thanks. Okay. I'm going to answer a few questions in the comments because there's no one in the queue. Some random ones. Property taxes are the most directly benefited taxes you'll see. They go back into your community. Fair point. Are they used properly? Never are, right? That's government bureaucracy and it's
TK, I just have a question real quick.
Yeah.
Interest on a mortgage. Where does that money go? It goes into the treasury, correct?
No, it goes to the banks who gave you the loan.
And they use it for whatever they want to use it for?
No, it's one of them. Yeah, it's a huge profit center for the financial industry.
Wow.
Now, I think if it's Freddie Mac or Freddie May or Mac, I forget how that ties in directly. But no, those are just profits, right? Here's why it's been so effective and they've gotten away with it for so long, where you could pay, what's the number? Someone in the comments, if you pay a 30-year mortgage and you're not paying extra into it, what how many times are you paying your house over from the original purchase price? We can look it up, of course, online as well. But one of the
I
things
can
that
do
has
it.
benefited boomers and Gen X is that because house values have continued to go up each generation dramatically, most people's wealth in the United States is tied to their equity that they have in their home. So many boomers have enough money for retirement because they sell their home, they downsize. And even though they paid an enormous amount in mortgage rates, their house has gone up in value so much that they have wealth. But that model is unsustainable. And it's not how actually most other countries, especially in Europe, they don't work like that. House values in other countries don't move nearly as much as they do in the United States. And I don't remember exactly why that is, but in other countries, you don't
So
typically build your wealth on your house.
yeah, I think is it Switzerland or Sweden? They don't. Yeah, you don't pay interest on I think it's for one home. You don't pay interest on it. For farms, I think it was the last time I checked. But this is for like 200,000, 4.33 interest, which obviously it's higher today. I think it's like 6.7 or 6.5. You're paying 357 from 200,000
After 30 years, it's not even 2 times.
for a 4.33.
Okay.
Now, I'll look up for current rates.
Tariffs on lumber raised values so much. That's interesting point of view. That's true. You're paying 3 times your home value according to Colin Torian. Yeah, you also have to understand that each dollar that's loaned out is loaned out 7 more times. So that's why you have crashes, right? So when you have, it's not like they hold your money. That money's reinvested and then they're loaned out again and again and again and again and again. That's why you get a run on the banks, and there's literally not enough capital in the system. It's all credit. So thanks for those.
Man, that's just crazy.
So I'm going through the comments, everyone. If you want to leave a question about the 28th Amendment, I know we go off on tangents a little bit, but I think that's good. We had a couple people that didn't fully agree with the 28th Amendment, but I think most people in general agreed with it, even though we had a couple of people that did disagree with it. I think they respect their opinions, but I do think they were off the reservation with some of their opinions. But so be it. Drives up all costs to build a home. Let's see. Thanks, Brunswick. All right. Is anyone else?
250 turns into 583 at a 6.7.
So about almost 2.3 times. Right?
Yeah.
2.2 times.
333,000 in interest.
Yep. Well, that's the American dream. So that's, I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit's hole. So I'm just interested to see what other people think of this rabbit's hole. The American homeowner experience or dream, the home ownership dream. If you truly think about it, what is it? The biggest benefit to government, which again, society is government, or it should be reflective of its society, is the collection of taxes. So government, it's in their best interest to make sure you own a home, because if you have a home and you don't pay your taxes, they know where to find you and they know what you to take. So you are basically stuck. If you don't own a home and you decide to not pay your taxes, you are much, much harder to be able to pin down and actually collect those taxes. That is part of the grand experiment of home ownership, is that you can't not pay your taxes. You're going to get caught. And I'm not, and by the way, so for the 88 people here, if those people that say that taxes are theft, please stop. Death and taxes, since the beginning of humanity, those are the two absolutes. You cannot live in a society without taxes. You cannot live in any society that has any sort of law and order without taxes. Paying taxes is a responsibility that everybody has. I'm not saying it should be always as much as it is for regular people. I'm not saying there are not problems with it, but I get annoyed with people who constantly bash and it's happening more over the last 10 years, people wearing shirts saying taxes is theft. And I think we've seen it here on the comments as well. This sort of erroneous notion that you think that we shouldn't pay taxes. Well, how are you going to pay for the roads and the schools and the hopefully clean air, and, having regulations on airbags in your cars and making sure your house doesn't burn down because the lights didn't start a fire, right? The military, exactly. If we don't have the military, then we get invaded. And then, it's so absurd that you think that taxes are theft. If you think so, well, you're born in the wrong country then, or I don't even know a country that doesn't have taxes. So again, it's sort of a fantasy world. It's sort of like libertarianism. You're living in a fantasy. I would just suggest, as someone who's pretty an idealist, if you're so far off that you think that you shouldn't be paying taxes, I can't help you. That's just, you're going to go through your life and you're never going to win that battle. And you're just wasting your breath. Pay your taxes. Do you want taxes lower?
It is a lot today, TK. It's high.
Well, it's
They are
lower.
high.
No, it's lower than it's ever has been for the individuals. Tax rates have gone down for individuals.
Taxes?
Yeah. 39% is the highest tax rate in the United States. Federally, taxes on the local and state levels have gone up at times, depending on your state. That is true. It just feels like taxes are higher because you have to pay more in healthcare and your grocery bills are going up and your mortgage rates, like everything feels like the actual tax rates haven't gone up. They've gone down. They've gone down every administration, I think, since the 80s, since Reagan. So the better thing is that there may be too many taxes. And I would say if you actually had corporations and billionaires paying their fair share, we could lower taxes on people that need lower taxes. But I just don't like the idea. I'm not arguing that taxes, it's the right progressive rate right now. I think most people are pissed off about taxes because they know there's a lot of people not paying their fair share. And they're like, well, if they're not paying theirs, why do I have to pay mine? This starts from the top down. Again, that's a personal observation and opinion. We need more billionaires, right? Immoral? Yeah, we need more billionaires. Absolutely.
Someone asked, how did we pay for roads before taxes? And it says roads were paid through a combination of mandatory labor, tolls, private investment, and government revenues.
Oh, that's a great idea. I think we should privatize roads. Sell our roads so they can put up tolls, and then we have to spend a toll every time we go on a certain road. That's a great idea. Let's do that.
I got quite a few of them around me already.
Right? That one used to drive me nuts in New York. Is like, WTF, why am I paying taxes if I have to stop and wait 5 minutes to pay a toll? This was back in the 90s and stuff, before there was Easy Pass and all that other stuff. Like, it was so absurd. Like, aren't we already paying taxes? So, like everybody else, I'm not happy about paying taxes, but I'm not so naive to believe that I'm not going to die and that I shouldn't pay taxes. Both of those are true. So Monique, thanks for the question. It's right there. It's behind my head. Just go to my profile, please, and click on the link that said a citizen's plan to bring representation back to the people. And please just repost my videos. If you saw my last video about this topic, it's going semi-viral. I picked up 4,000 or 5,000 followers in the past couple days on this. We have to pass the 28th Amendment. We have to get all money out of politics because then everything else fixes itself. That's my point of view. So it's not easy. It's not, but it's also not complex. I don't think either party is no one ever even talks about it, right? So let's be honest. You could even take Bernie and AOC on the left, who have, they want to pay for healthcare and so forth, but they never mention a 28th Amendment. Sometimes you'll hear the repeal of Citizens United, but that's just a Band-Aid. That's not a solution. Use the tools that the founding fathers gave us, and that is to amend the document. Amend it to the evolution of the times. And that's what we have to do. That's why if everyone was not screaming, but promoting a 28th Amendment and was clear, I think we could get the numbers. How long does it take? That's a different question. We get so much more when we pitch in for services. Absolutely. Like, here's maybe a topic. This when we pitch in for services. Think about the absurdity of our waste sometimes. I've done studies on the Netherlands and Belgium on their highways. So, for instance, we pay for highways here with our taxes, but the average mile per lane in the United States costs $2 million a mile to build a road and to maintain a road. To build a road. It's $2 million per mile. Now, in Europe, that's $4 million per mile. So you say, wow, we get a much better deal here in the United States. It's not true. It's actually because our roads are only designed to last 10 years before needing major maintenance, 20 years maximum. In Europe, their roads are designed, not all of Europe, but Belgium and the Netherlands.
Netherlands.
Yes, thank you. They charge $4 million a mile to build it, but their roads are designed to last 50 years. And during the span of the 50 years, the amount of maintenance they have, because they're using much higher quality materials at $4 million per mile, is their cost ends up being 50% less over the course of those 40 or 50 years than the cost of ours. So it just shows that we are inefficient because we just want to have the lowest bidder instead of having standards or quality to make those roads last a lot longer. One lane, that's per mile for one lane, $2 million, roughly $2 million in the United States for one lane. And it's $4 million in many aspects of Europe. I'm rounding those numbers, but they're generally there. Find that
Well,
in?
to be fair, they're also they have, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like we may have more miles here in America though, too. Don't we have a lot more roads just because of the size of our country, comparatively speaking?
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
But how it works out per capita, that might be a different thing. We also spend, I think it's almost per capita, the average American spends more than twice the amount of time on the road as the next country. I think that's close. I think that's what it is. So we drive far more than the average person does in other countries.
I was looking up, or I heard this article in Chicago, half of the parking meters and the revenues that it creates goes to Abu Dhabi. It's an article that came out that all the revenues from Chicago parking spots is going to another country.
Is that fact or is that just a rumor?
No, I've got the article up. I can send it to you.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the fan club stuff and the roses and the hearts. Thank you for trying to expose this live to more people. Trying to build a following every single day on here on TikTok and even on thank you, Brunswick. Thank you, awesome. And on the YT as well. It's really important because I'm not trying to be a creator or an influencer. I really just want to do this, right? I just want to do that, the 28th Amendment. And then I really would like to be part of organizing this plan to enact the 28th and 29th Amendment. Belgium and the Netherlands are tiny. We need to build many more miles of road. Germany's also tiny, but that Germany falls into that as well. So does Scandinavian countries. We do need to build many more miles of road. So the investment is higher, but still doesn't negate the fact that we spend 50% more money on our roads on average, and we have to maintain them. And the quality of our roads is much worse. And that's the whole point of infrastructure. It's an investment, and you have to think of it. An investment is designed to give you a return on your money. So through commerce, you get a return, the taxes, like the highway system, the interstate highway system was an incredible boon for our economy, and that's an investment. And that was one of the greatest investments you could probably argue that government has ever done, is having the interstate highway system. I'm just suggesting as one example of inefficiency, of thousands of examples I'm sure you guys would all have, is that that's one aspect because it's so important that if you wanted to save money, we would just invest a little bit more upfront and not have to pay so much long term, which would be a net gain for all of us. And that would have an impact on our taxes. And that's just one thing, right? You have hundreds of things you can talk about. That's just the one that came to the top of my head. We have more people to raise the tax. 370 million, is it? Oh, Ghost IMG
All our
says,
current population.
yeah. Ghost IMG is confirming that is known they sold parking tickets rights for decades. Don't get me started on exploitation of parking rates throughout the country. I don't care where you live. You go to a sports game and you go to a sporting event and you have to pay, some places I think it's what, $50 to $80. Does anyone know if it's even higher? Has anybody paid more than, let's say, $80 to park to go to a sports event? I mean, it's
For private parking for sure.
and it's right. But even the sporting events, the owners sometimes of the stadiums will even lease their parking systems out to other companies, right? So it makes it sort of
Oh wow.
private as well. That's oftentimes they want someone else to manage it. And so they're almost like double charging, right? Because both companies have to make money.
Capitalism.
Unbridled capitalism. Ghost IMG, highest private parking used in Chicago. Is that for a Bears game? Is that for White Sox or Red Sox? Or is it for the Blackhawks NHL? I doubt it's for the NHL. $72. Like I don't go to these things mostly because I just hate being exploited. Exploited? Is that a word? Exploited.
It is now.
It is now, right?
The TK word.
Yeah. But it just drives me, you pay, go to a Taylor Swift concert in the United States and go to the same concert in Europe. It's less than half. I think it's like a quarter of the price. Why? Like how ridiculous. I guess it's supply and demand, so go for it, right? Supply and demand, charge what you can get, but they can't do it in Europe because you don't price everybody out, right? So again, I sound like an anti-capitalist. I'm not. I'm just, let's regulate capitalism so it's, it makes sense for society.
Yeah, like interest on a loan shouldn't exceed 50% of the home's value.
Right. Let's see, just the downtown parking. Thanks for all the comments, everybody. Please drop the comments. Answer this question, please. I'm going to answer some more questions. Does anyone believe that we shouldn't have a 28th Amendment? If you're unfamiliar, let's do a little civics class because I think people like it. I don't know. The Constitution was written in 1789 or ratified 1789, I think it was. So don't give me any exact dates. I'm a civics advocate. I don't memorize the entire Constitution and its dates. 11 years earlier was the Declaration of Independence. It took 11 years to draft, not 11 years to draft the Constitution, but the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers were being published in newspapers advocating for a strong federal government. The Anti-Federalist Papers were advocating for strong states' rights. They couldn't come to an agreement on what a federal government should look like. So they ended up writing a constitution that wouldn't get ratified because the anti-federalists wanted more states and individual rights. So they came up with the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And that at that point, the 13 colonies agreed to it, and everybody signed on and ratified the Constitution. Since then, we've added on 17 more amendments, many of them about voting rights, which are now being challenged. Some of them, the 14th, 15th, 16th, are all regarding women's, 19th, women's voting rights, 16th for, so when you're Black, you're able to vote, I think in the 16th Amendment. But anyway, we have 27 total amendments. 17 have been added after the initial ratification of the Constitution. What I am proposing that we need a 28th Amendment. This is what we should be talking about. I don't care if it was someone on the right or if it's someone on the left or it's people in the middle, because that's where ultimately it's going to need to come from, most likely. But the 28th Amendment would solve most of our issues in our government because it would eliminate money from politics or not all money, but it would eliminate money from special interest corporations, billionaires, religious fascist groups, foreign agents, blah, blah, blah. Go down the list. There's hundreds of them. And that would change our system dramatically, because I contend that then our representatives would represent only the people, because they're not getting bribed, lobbied to represent all these other interests. So we should have a 28th Amendment, and we also then should have a 29th Amendment, which says that being a politician needs to be a temporary civic service and it cannot be a career. And that just means we need to have strict term limits on people who want to serve in office, right? You come to office, you serve your term or your 2 terms, and then you go home. And by the way, when you were in the office, you couldn't enrich yourself, right? You couldn't enrich yourself. You're there to serve the public and the public only. You would get paid, because you should get paid. You can't go to office for 8 or 12 years and not get paid. Everybody has families or, personal things they have to worry about. So that's life. So there are people sometimes in the comments that say being a civic servant shouldn't be a paid position. Well, then you're never going to get anybody that can't afford to be there, right? You can't, if someone can't stop their life, they have kids or families or others, and they have to get paid. Like, some people advocate that it should be totally civic service and you don't get paid. Well, then the only people could ever afford to do it would be people who are wealthy enough. And then you wonder, why are they doing it in the first place? Because they're probably trying to enrich themselves. Yes, your friend with sense, aren't billionaires also considered individuals and not just corporations? Yes, good point. Did I write billionaires, or I just mentioned it? So my point about billionaires is, yes, individually, but they should not be able to contribute any more than anybody else. Like one person, if you're going to have contributions at all. In today's modern world, I could see a way that you could maybe do it without any contributions. But one of the last guests had a good point about, in order to canvass areas or to get people to the polls, and maybe there needs to be some money, but there's so many ways to fix these problems. These are not like wildly complicated problems. You get people in a room, smart people in a room. If we created the Constitution, if we won the Civil War, if we won World War I and World War II, and if we won the civil rights movement, like, we can do this shit. It's not that hard. Great point. CAP score SAG. Representatives should be vetted for basic education and understanding. That is listed in my plan. There's sort of minimum requirements. Passing an immigration test, just like immigrants have to do. Making sure you have understanding of geopolitics and the current world order, and understanding, obviously giving an oath to the Constitution. Maybe it needs to be more than just an oath, right? Because people aren't following through on their oaths, including many times police officers are not following the Constitution, and many times. So yes, there needs to be some level of, I don't know if education, but requirements that you have to meet. That would be ideal. But even so, I would still just take a really decent American with moral integrity that didn't know much about politics or even the world. And I would argue they could probably do a better job in politics with just a little bit of time. Hey, Pammy, you're up next, Pammy. Probably the final guest of this evening or the night. Hey, Pammy.
Hi.
How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm well. This is all great, what you're saying. How do we get it going?
Hang on a second. I'm just going to go grab my magic wand. I couldn't find it.
I mean, really, this is what we've needed. These lobbyists and getting money from big donors, and, it's also crooked, and
Everybody has to keep beating the same horse. Everybody, constantly. It should be like the main thing. Every single person that agrees with it. You go
do,
to a town hall, you go anywhere, that should be the topic that you talk about.
do any of the current politicians agree with this?
They don't talk about it often. My guess would be Adam Kinzinger, who used to be a Republican, would agree
Hmm.
with this at the very least, and Bernie would certainly agree with this, I
Yeah,
believe,
Bernie would.
and
I think
AOC
Bernie
most
would.
likely would as well. But they don't talk about it because they, like everybody else, they get dragged down into talking about issues. They're important issues. I'm not saying they're not.
Right.
But we all get dragged down into talking about individual everyday issues instead of this high level thing like if we fix this then we fix everything else.
Right. Right. Well, with healthcare, I mean, who are the lobbyists for that? And the insurance and the outrageous prices we are paying for these services.
And they're going to go up.
And they're going up. Yes. I mean,
Yeah, exploitation, right? Exploitation by, I think 16 cents of every dollar spent in America on the entire American economy goes to the healthcare industry in some fashion or form. It's like insanely 16% of the entire economy is based on the healthcare economy of a country that doesn't provide universal healthcare and doesn't have the number one rated healthcare system in the world, not even close to it.
The
and
25th,
we,
I think.
and we give money to other countries who have universal health care.
Yes. I understand people talking about that, but it's a slippery slope. We give money to other countries for lots of different reasons. It's called soft power, right? It's called soft power.
Yes.
And my point is only on those things is it shouldn't be take money away from those countries using our soft power in order to pay for healthcare. There's much better ways. We can do lots of things at once. People always think like, hey, we need to have tax the billionaires, and that's the only solution. No, we have to tax the billionaires and the corporations, but at the same time, we should be reducing spending where we can, and we should be reducing fraud. Like it's not one or the other. So we could be
Both.
taxing, yeah, we can do it all. Like we could do literally hundreds of things at once if we really wanted to. It's not like these things aren't impossible. It's just that they're hard to get legislation through to do any one thing, never mind multiple things at once.
How do you feel about these programs being shut down?
A country should be judged on how it treats its poor, its elderly, and its helpless. That's how I feel about it. Right? Homelessness. Homelessness is something of our own making. It's
Right.
because of it's not just mental health disorders. It's part of VA, right? It's a lot of vets that are homeless. There's lots of drug abuse, and everybody likes to blame it on drug addicts. But no,
It's not all.
it's a national crisis, and many other countries have solved or relatively reduced homelessness dramatically. It's not super easy, but for the amount of money that we spend on other things, like you mentioned, like I always go back to the corporations and billionaires. They're fleecing us by not paying their fair share of taxes, and all that money could be used for social safety nets and all types of other things, in addition to reducing fraud and waste.
Why aren't you running for office?
No, thank you.
Can't blame you there.
No, but
Okay, so have your mouth in somebody's ear.
no, think of it like this. I think I'm just like you and everybody else that's watching. On most days, when we think about politics, we might wake up in the morning and we're like, man, I wish things were different, because politics is always back there, right? It's always in the back of our minds somewhere. And it creates these mental challenges. Let's call them that. And like you, I wake up every day like frustrated around the world around us, how we've seen the demise or the complete dysfunction of American politics. And no one who's a decent moral, well, not no one, few people want to get involved in politics because they know they can't really do anything, right? Both parties are corrupted. So they go in as junior senators or junior congressmen, and they have to toe the party line. Otherwise, they don't get reelected. And they're just wasting their time, and they have to put themselves out there, and they get completely destroyed and discredited, and their lives are never the same afterwards. Like, who wants to do that? I mean, I think you got to
Right.
be a little crazy to do it.
I agree.
But with that said, I do think if there was a different environment in our political system and there was some optimism, there would be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who would raise their hands and say, if I could really make a difference and I see us headed in the right direction, they would raise their hands and want to go into politics. So like you and everybody else, I wake up in the morning and say, well, would I ever run for politics? No, because one person can't change it that way. But if I could get enough people to agree to like this thing, the 28th and 29th Amendment, maybe I could have more impact that way. And since I know my skill set, it's definitely not to be a politician. But if I can create a community and organize a community and help communicate with that community, and then we can recruit 536 potential political leaders, that would actually move the needle. Like just a few of us going into office with the existing party structure, it just seems like a complete waste of time. So that's why I'm doing this, Pammy, right? It's to say, I don't know what I can do, but I know my skill set. I know what I've done in the past about building communities. So let me just put myself out there on TikTok and on YT. And maybe over time, I'll have 100,000 followers. Maybe over time, I'll have 1 million followers. And then maybe something happens. Maybe something starts to build. And then more people continue to spread a similar message. And then those people come together and unite behind like a 28th Amendment. And then maybe, these are all early stage stuff, but that's the only thing that I can hope for as what I think I'm a decent American that has the best interests of my kids and your kids and future generations. And maybe that's what I'm trying to do. So instead of being directly involved in politics, I think civics is actually kind of cool because civics is the gateway to politics. So if you understand your history in civics, I think it's fascinating. I didn't think so in 8th grade. I do now. So if I can help educate people in understanding why we're here and how we got here and why the Constitution is still the greatest document in terms of, law and order in a society, then maybe I can help move the needle a little bit. And maybe all of you and everybody watching and other people can help me do the same thing. And then maybe that's how things start, right?
Right. Well, all good points. I mean, right now our Constitution is really being challenged a lot, and it's quite scary. A lot of people are scared.
Yeah, the piece of paper is only as good if the people behind it are actually protecting it, right? And the people at the highest levels, if they are running roughshod over the document and there's no checks and balances, which that's the biggest problem is there's no checks and balances at all right now, right? Congress is supposed to be that checks and balance and the judiciary, but
It's broken.
it's broken. It's clearly broken.
It's broken badly.
Yeah.
It's every day it gets scarier and scarier, and it's been scary for a long time. It just didn't start with Trump. This has been going on.
Yeah. Yeah, Trump couldn't have happened. I always go back to this one because I think people like this one. Those of us that are old enough to remember, I always imagine the world. What would the world be like today if John F. Kennedy Jr. did not die in that plane crash?
What would it be like?
And if you haven't heard this before, so John F. Kennedy Jr., the son of JFK, I know they're left, so even if you're right, you're probably thinking, well, that would have just been liberal. No, John F. Kennedy Jr. was really well liked and really respected, and he was always thought to go into politics. He was admired by a large swath of the nation for his demeanor and just how he handled himself. And if he ended up not passing away in that plane crash, he most likely would have never seen Obama come to power because he would have been running for office and presidency most likely during the Obama times because it was about 10 years after his death. And I doubt that Obama would have ever gotten the traction to overcome a JFK Jr. And without Obama, you don't have Trump because Trump came to power just saying that Obama was not an American citizen. So now you don't have Obama. So now you don't have the incredible division based on race. Then you don't have Trump, which took that to a new level. And where are we today if JFK lives? I think in an entirely different world.
Never thought of it that way, but very possible.
Yeah.
I just wish you weren't here right now.
Instead, we kept
I
Bobby.
mean,
That's a funny comment.
yeah, I like that one. Yeah, worm brain.
Yeah. So thanks for those comments, everybody. So when I go off on those tangents and I think about those things, I think people do. Thanks for all those comments and those. What is that? Which one? I don't even know the different gifts.
Ooh,
That
a
was
little
cool.
corgi.
Yeah, and it's just not those. So when you go back to the story, how one person, one individual, most likely changed the world for every single, in some respect, every single human on the planet has been affected by, because what the United States does affects everybody everywhere in some way, shape, or form with the global reserve currency. So one person, and we see it also on the negative side, what one person can do, like a Vladimir Putin, and how it's not really just one. You got Xi as well in China, but you see how one person can sometimes change the world.
Yeah, you're so right. Well, I wish more people would come up and talk about this. You explain everything so well. I thank you for that.
Thank you, Pammy. I really
And
appreciate it.
I don't know what the racism remark is over there, but I didn't feel that from you. So
Now, did someone
thank
imply
you.
that I was being a racist?
I don't know.
I think that
They said
Yoli was saying
racism.
racism based on Obama and Trump. I think they didn't mean it in a negative way.
Oh, okay. I hope not, because I don't see it. I didn't see your thoughts that way when you even said Obama. I mean, I adored Obama. I think he's a great speaker, and
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for Pammy. I hope you continue to watch, and
thank
just if
you.
you can share any videos and repost videos over time, we'll see what happens. Sadly, I don't see many other people doing anything but arguing.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, that's all they do on these lives. Sometimes it gets crazy, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you got some
It's
You
not
got some
getting
fans.
anybody anywhere.
You have some fans if
Yeah,
you look in the comments. Pammy is awesome.
that's my son.
Oh.
That's my son, of course. But thank you for letting me up.
Thanks, Pammy. See you soon.
Have a good night.
You too. All right. Does anyone else want to join? I'm going to shut it down soon and figure out what my last closing is going to be in terms of inspirational endings. Remember, please share the videos. Please follow me here. Please follow me on YT. And we do have a small audience on YT as well, which is awesome. He's an opportunist that voted 90%. So we do have a couple of comments on YT as well. So I want to address that. I guess I'm not seeing the same chat as others are. So that's a good point. If anyone is watching on YT, you're not seeing the same comments because the audience on TT, I'll say here, and on TikTok, I can say TikTok, is much, much larger. And that's where I take the guests. So if you're watching on YouTube, you will hear the audio from our guests, but you won't see the comments from those guests. It's just no way for me to feed in TikTok comments into YT. So, but over time, as more people, I need to grow an audience. Oh, this is really important for the 78 people that are less. Sorry, it's been a long live that are left. If you haven't subscribed to me on YT, please do so, because I have a very small audience over there, and YT does not expose lives to many people unless you have at least 1,000 followers or subscribers. So if you haven't done so, if you can help me get over the 1,000 mark on YT, since I'm just getting started over there, once I get over 1,000, I should be able to expose that to a lot more people. And then it, of course, protects these lives in case something happens with TikTok. Then I'll have an audience over on YT as well. So if you can do that, that's incredibly helpful. Eventually, I need to be on Reddit. I need to be on podcasting. I need to be on Medium and Substack and all these other platforms, but I'm trying to build up slowly. TT or TikTok is the main place right now, but I don't want it to be like that forever, because we all know that's a risk of being suppressed. All right, the last guest of the live. Welcome, Mary. Thanks for...
Hi.
How are you? Generation and political spectrum?
Boomer? Generation?
Yes.
And
Okay.
what was the other question?
Where do you sit on the political spectrum?
Liberal.
Okay, cool. All right. So, what do you think about the 20th Amendment, or did you want to talk about something
Well, I
closely
just wanted
related?
to say that today I saw your post about the enemy within not being the liberal or the conservative.
Oh.
And then you named the 3 things that you felt from the least nefarious on up. And I just thought that was an interesting take. I hadn't really thought about it like that before. So, it just gave me a way to think about things a little bit different.
You probably heard me say in that video as well. And I know I normally don't get nuanced with it. And I just say special interest billionaires and corporations, just like everybody else, right? And it was important. And it was strange with that video because that video, I initially had some music on it and I only got like 500 views. And I didn't realize the music was louder than you could hear me speaking. So someone mentioned in the comments that I can't even hear you. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to repost it. I just thought it was a dead video. And I reposted it with no music and the video exploded, which was great to see because I thought it was an important video, but I was like, oh, it's 5.5 minutes long. Maybe I went into the details too much and maybe no one cares at all. But then I posted it again and obviously it's blowing up, which was really cool. And it seems like you, a lot of other people appreciated the nuance of it, even though it wasn't very nuanced, right?
Right. I did share it to Facebook. And, I downloaded it, shared it to Facebook, and I did share it again on TikTok too. So,
Oh, awesome.
yes. So I just thought it was a different way of looking at things. However, when you look at the groups you mentioned, the 3 groups and stuff, they're still all right-leaning groups. The Christian nationalists, the dark MAGA that you talked about, though I've never heard it referred to as dark MAGA, but that's interesting.
Yeah, let's go on to it. So let's talk about it because I think I left a lot. I couldn't name all the groups because that video would have been like 30 minutes long. So I just had to do that's unrehearsed video. It's just off the cuff. I don't do scripts typically. And when I'm doing that, of course, I'm going to leave out things, right? I'm not going to cover all the bases because I'm also trying to be succinct at the same time. So, some people are like, well, you didn't mention George Soros. I was like, no, I didn't. But if I did, it would have been in the same bucket. I don't care who it is, left or right. Now, it just so happens when it comes to the third bucket, the least nefarious, the corporate special interests, the profit over people bucket, that spans the gamut of everything from workers' unions to ACLU to George Soros to right-wing leaning like corporations, all of it, right? The middle bucket is also non-political, left or right, because it's just foreign agents and foreign governments intervening in our politics, right? Again, has nothing to do with left versus right. I'm just going to mute you for a second since there's some background. And then the first bucket, this is one that MAGA might get a little annoyed with, or some people did because they weren't really paying attention to the video, is that the 2 groups of the most nefarious, which are the Christian nationalists, and they're not indicative or representative of Christians, but the Christian nationals led by the Project 2025 architects and Stephen Miller and that group, and the dark MAGA mafia, which are the corporate dictators, which are Peter Thiel and those 2 groups are also not MAGA per se. I'm not blaming MAGA for them. It's just that they have hooked their fangs into the MAGA movement and to Trump specifically, since Trump is so easy to manipulate. They realize this. They're playing chess here. They're using chess. And I've had literally on these lives, and I'm going to post the video on YT tomorrow about this Christian nationalist that made it very clear that they are using Trump to achieve their agenda. So I call them the dark MAGA mafia because they are sunk their teeth into MAGA and are just leveraging that group to get what they want. So it's not that they are right-leaning groups. They don't give a crap about ideology. They only care that if it's the case of the corporate dictators, that they get control and have a CEO style executive, which is nothing else but code for being an authoritarian, or it's the Christian nationals that want to take America in a direction of being a religious fascist state where deep, harmful Christian values form the basis for our government. So they're not right-wing leaning groups. I guess you could say the Christian nationals are, but they have much more nefarious, much deeper, because they want to turn our country into a theocracy. So it's not authoritarianism, it's not autocracy, it's theocracy, where the government is a religious government. And when I think of that, I think of a religious government. I think most people think of places like Iran and Islam and Saudi Arabia and many other countries where your country is ruled by religion. And I don't know about you guys here, but I don't want America. Basically, it's completely disrespectful of the founding fathers and the Constitution. So if those people think that's the direction for the United States, then you don't know your history and the Constitution. And I'm not pointing you out, Mary. That we have a secular document that these people who were Christians, by the way, Protestants, most of the founding fathers were Protestants and Christians, but they, even at this time in the 1700s, said, we don't want a new government that's based on religion. And they had Christian values, and some of the Constitution can be, traced back, of course, to Christian values, but that's not what they wanted with that document. So that's the absurdity of these Christian nationals, is they believe they want to return America back to a Christian national state. It never was. It was never supposed to be. And if you say it is, then you don't actually believe in the Constitution at all. So I hope that made sense to you, Mary. So if you want to unmute yourself again, you're welcome to it.
So I agree with you. I think, to me, the Christian nationalists kind of are really scary to me because they've been at this a long time to develop this. This just didn't happen overnight. They've been working at changing the Supreme Court, the whole thing, for years, slowly, trying to weasel their way in, even within the states with the gerrymandering and stuff. I'm from Wisconsin, one of the worst gerrymandered states, till recently when we got a Supreme Court judge, because we elect them here, who was a liberal and stuff like that. But I think it's really pretty scary with the Christian nationalists and stuff because they're trying to change so much. The fact that they've gotten rid of the Department of Education and what that's going to do to education, of putting it all back in the states, because there are states out there that are struggling very, very badly with supporting education because they don't have the money, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at special education and the needs within the school districts and stuff, I look at some, and most of those are really red states, like I want to say like Mississippi, Alabama, and some of those southern states like that, and how they're hurting in order to fund education. And now the federal government's gone. So now what? What happens to our kids? And I just worry about the education because the kids are the future.
Yeah.
And they're dumbing down our education.
I mean, these people are pure evil. There's no way. They have no moral integrity. They hide behind Christian values, or they say they do. These are wholly indecent people. They do not give a darn about anything other than their own religious, crazy, absurd, extreme religion ideology. And whether you think it was Islam that way or Christianity or other religions, it's really scary because these people are just, they're just creeps. I don't know how else to say it.
When they go after our youth, they're looking at the future.
They are. Like Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owen, they're all part of that sort of movement to, poison particularly young men's minds into thinking like, no, most people don't realize, like most liberals are all for family values. They want normal families like everybody else, but they try and say that liberals don't want families and it's all about sexuality rights and so forth. And it's absurd. Most normal, sensible, reasonable Americans, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, believe in a good family life. And young men are being manipulated by those groups into thinking that all liberals want everything to be trans, that we should be talking about pronouns everywhere. We should be teaching about pronouns in school. No, that's not what most people want.
No, and it's such a small, tiny percentage of people that are trans and stuff like that. It's just, they just use that as a way to scare people and,
Right.
and everything. So, I don't know. I'm 77. I've been a liberal since I was probably in high school when JFK ran.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was actually belonged to the Young Democrats and everything.
So you remember a young JFK running around during the
Oh,
inauguration?
you betcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. From house to house and all over the place and supporting him. And oh, yeah, you betcha. So, and coming from a area that's very Catholic and stuff, and that was always a big controversy too, that he was Catholic back then.
Right. He was
You know?
Roman Catholic. And I remember I wasn't there then, but he was Roman Catholic, and I've done the research on it. And it was like, I didn't understand the difference between just being, a Christian and being a Roman Catholic for that time. It was, it was almost like it never happened before.
Right.
Because they
So,
thought
yeah,
they thought he would answer to the Pope instead of to the people.
right. And then, of course, I came through like Madison in the 60s and 70s and all the Vietnam protests. I went with a guy who went through Vietnam and came home, and how screwed up he was and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
I've been through the gamut of things, but
Well,
I
you're
haven't
you're
burned.
still doing whatever you can to hopefully put the country in I'm
Well,
not I'm a staunch independent, and I have different and not ambitions, objectives, because I know that when the seesaw goes too far left or it goes too far right, that we all lose, that you have to just take the pulse of society. And we have to be balancing ourselves on this, this balance beam or this seesaw. And once there's too much weight on one side, you collapse into either fascism on the right, like where the Christian nationals want to take us, or you collapse into complete socialism, or worse, communism, all the way to the left, right? Democracy as an experiment is all about balancing, and it's all about
right.
obviously compromising on things. And people look at a compromise as losing, but they don't understand that compromising in everything in life, whether it's your relationships with your kids or with your spouse or with your coworkers or with anything, it's all about compromise. That's how you have healthy relationships. And that applies to a society as well.
What I don't understand is with the Christian nationalists is why are they willing to give up the type of government we have for a fascist government? I don't
Control.
control power.
It's all psychopaths and sociopaths, right? If you're a decent, I view it as this, like you're obviously a very decent, have high moral integrity, and you were raised well. You understand that you put people ahead of your own like personal gains all the time. Like you have just a general, but people like you and me, we can't put our minds in the situation like someone who is only power hungry, like a sociopath or a psychopath. We just can't. We just don't understand it because we don't live it. And the reverse is true. If you take someone like Donald Trump, who has no values except for one thing, the only thing he values is money. And
Yeah.
when you only value money, and like you can have multiple values on a sort of a value system from top to down, and some are more important than others. But when you're a sociopath and you only value money and nothing else, and you say, I'm going to hire the best people, well, what does that mean to him? Does he know what someone with integrity looks like? Absolutely not. Does he know someone who's truthful? Does he know what someone who has a history of doing good things? They are completely blind. So when you don't have any morals and you don't have any values other than money, the only thing you value is a transaction between money, like whether it's with young kids and whatever it might be, right?
Right.
And they are blind. So when someone like him says, we're going to have the best people, what he thinks are the best people and what we think are good people are complete worlds apart.
Right.
And they are
Right.
completely blind. They don't even know what a decent moral integrity human being looks like, 'cause just like we have no idea what it's like to be a psychopath or a sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're blind. We're blind to
Yeah.
that. So to us, it just seems so unreasonable.
Well, I definitely think that you're correct when you say that Trump and MAGA is being used by the Christian nationalists because they're being manipulated. Because, like you said, he's easily manipulated. All you do is have to stroke his ego, and he's, you can manipulate him.
Right.
So they're just using him. Plus, I don't think he's all that smart. So and I think, to me, JD Vance scares me even worse than Trump does right now. If something happens to Trump and JD Vance steps in.
Agreed.
So
You saw that from my video as well. Well, I didn't mention it that deeply, but JD Vance is the much, much deeper long-term threat, without a
not
doubt.
only that, he's got more intelligence and more everything than Trump does. So
Yeah, and more importantly, he's just a puppet for what the people that put him there want him to do.
yeah, because wasn't his values kind of opposite for a long time before he started siding with Trump? He was totally against Trump to start
Oh,
with.
this guy look at his history. What a shady POS this guy is. It's not even his real name, right? So he's using an alias. He changed his name. He worked for Peter Thiel supposedly in his venture fund, but he didn't do anything there. So he graduated college, went to work for Peter Thiel. Like, this guy has no merit to be where he is and doesn't even go by his real name. And he's just a weird dude,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's just, to me, everything that's happening in the country is really scary. I mean, I'm 77, so I never thought I'd go out like this, so to speak,
Yeah.
the country in this much disarray and chaos and everything. I have a hard time watching ICE on the streets when they show the videos and stuff of what they're doing on the streets. I have a hard time even watching it because I can't believe this is going on in our country.
Hmm.
I understand they have a job to do, but why the cruelty? Why do they have to be cruel and inhumane?
And just
It's
insecure, weak, just putting masks on as a public official and not identifying yourself. Like, this is not who we are as Americans.
well, like somebody said, the thing is they do not have immunity, and when this is all said and done, we will find out who they are, and we can hold them accountable.
Well, a lot of them are J6ers, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and probably Boogaloo Boys, and
Yep. Yeah.
just out to they're just mean spirited. I don't know. As I said, I just have a hard time watching it. I usually have to scroll past it because it's too hard to watch. So, but
Mr.
anyway,
Thanks for joining, Mary. I appreciate it. I'm laughing at Mr. Global's. I guess he's now wants to be a
wig.
founding father.
I can see that. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well,
Thanks.
for
Have
your
a great
post.
night.
Did you
Thank
give
you.
me something? Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Just trying to lighten the mood, TK, you
How
know?
do you even do that?
I did a click, so I clicked on my screen and then there's effects at the bottom. So I just picked one and this one came up and I thought it was hilarious.
It's applicable.
Well, we talk about the founding fathers a lot, so maybe that's you do a live with this filter on. I'm sure people will stop in for sure.
I'm gonna try and do that. That might be funny. I don't know. We got one more
It reminds
person.
me of the Joe Rogan podcast where him and his friend dress up as as like early settlers, and I find it to be funny. But
I
anyways,
don't watch Rogan too much other than some crazy clips once in a while. Char. I don't know if I have the same features as you do. All right.
Hey.
Last caller on the 28th Amendment sort of topic for tonight. Good evening, Char. Nice to see you.
Hey. So I am a millennial and I'm liberal. I've been listening for a little while, so I knew what to say.
Okay, cool.
But anyways, I like what you're doing, and I live in a really small town, And I think across the U.S., most of our small towns are pretty leaning. Um, it's kind of appalling, actually, how angry everybody is about yesterday's protest. It's really disappointing to see such a small, tight knit community get so upset at a bunch of people that have gone out there with signs. Like, I realize that, like, the protest is probably not very effective. But, like, what else are we going to do? We got to try something, we got to do something, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But, anyways, I'm totally with you on all of this. Like, I've even said, I don't think I've used the same exact words as you, but I've been like, we need to get rid of people that or we need to vote people. If you're running for office and you're being funded by APAC, or you're being funded by, I think APAC was my biggest one. If you're being funded by any of these foreign governments, then we can't vote
Get
for
them out.
we can't vote for you.
Get them out.
So yeah, get them out. Yeah. But it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of support, because mhm, it seems like money wins elections, as you know. So of course, once you get this 28th amendment going, it's gonna be great, because then we'll be able to actually have normal people in office. Right now, we don't have normal people in office. I don't even know how to describe these people. Um, and I even like some of them, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm kind of rambling, but
No, not at
anyways.
all. No, you make some good points. Like at the end of the day, money. I think money is interesting because it necessarily doesn't win elections, but it gets you in a position to be one of the two people that wins elections, right? So if you can win your primary and your party is backing you, then you have a good chance of winning, which is much the same. I'm just sort of parsing. Ultimately, like other people mentioned, sometimes the biggest spenders actually do lose, but we only have a choice between one of two people practically in today's reality, which is absurd, right? And both parties accept lots of money from all types of groups. Someone would argue that maybe the left is not as bad as the right, and the right would argue that the left is worse than the right. It doesn't matter. At the end of the
Yeah, I
day,
hear
they're
you.
all accepting money, right?
Oh yeah, no, I hear you. I see it too. Like, I like some of the things that Booker says, but the fact that he takes money from APAC, I don't like him anymore. I know that sounds like really like black and white, and there's more to it. I just don't like the career politicians. That's what I really don't like. And I really like Bernie Sanders for the most part. But if we can't get anywhere because he's too far left, quote unquote, which he's not. I don't know if you agree with this, but he's more central, which is so
He's
funny.
very popular with a lot of conservatives.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing too, huh? In fact, it was my understanding that leading up to 2016, that some of the Bernie followers or whatever, they actually switched to Trump.
They did. I know a lot of them, and at that time, I was diving deeper to ask them, like, wait a minute, you were a Bernie supporter? I thought you were just purebred Trump. They're like, no, I would have voted for Bernie until he got basically bushwhacked by Clinton and the Democratic Party. And I was blown away because it wasn't just one person. It was, several people from my inner circle. I was just like, wow, okay. And
Well, I think
yeah,
it's because of the at least the facade of them both, Bernie and Trump, being anti-establishment. And
right.
so,
That's a great point. They
yeah.
both are anti-establishment. And that's a great point. And I failed to mention that because anti-establishment is really what people want on both sides. And
Yes.
Trump was absolutely anti-establishment, and so was Bernie. The problem is Bernie, obviously elderly, sort of late in his career and so forth, and just looked at as a hardcore liberal. But if he would have possibly went as an independent, it wouldn't have helped. It would have been too late because he didn't have enough support.
Yeah.
But it's a good point. It all comes down to anti-establishment. And that's something that both the right and the left agree on. And it's just strange how, both
We're
parties,
just so
yeah.
we're so busy being angry at each other that we can't see that.
And Mr. Global here wants us to make a laugh out of his, what is that? What chips? It's not a specific brand because I guess they can't do a specific brand. But you're right. Yeah, absolutely. We're just arguing. That's always my contention, right? Everybody's arguing about these issues, and they are important issues, but they're not. And this is by design, right? This is truly by design. When everyone on the right-wing propaganda side of social media and the left-wing propaganda, so whether you take the Ben Shapiro's and Charlie Kirk's and Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes on the right, And then you even take care on
Hmm.
TikTok, and you have Parker and Dean Withers, who are smart young men, and all they're sitting there is belittling Trump voters and just sitting there, debate me. Why do you still support Trump? And it's the only thing they do. And they have like 4 million followers, and they're literally doing nothing but grifting off of their audience from belittling people that support Trump. Like,
Hmm.
oh, you guys are smart. Do something with that audience. 4 million people, like,
Hmm.
solve problems. But then maybe
Well,
they don't make
Candace
as much money. Who knows?
Candace Owens is an interesting one though, and I mean, yeah, she is definitely a grifter. I'm not gonna pretend that she's not. She's definitely. I mean, she gets right in there and um, I call it edging, the way that she does her yeah, the way that she does her podcast and stuff. But anyways, but she's also saying some really weird things like and she's it's almost like she's recognizing that this isn't a red versus blue thing. This is actually a bottom versus top thing. And it's like she's saying the right things all of a sudden. And so is Marjorie
I
Taylor Greene for
know,
that matter.
right?
Yeah,
Well, is it more good versus evil? I mean, there's good people even at the top that have money. I mean,
that's fair.
I think it is this long this long story of just good versus evil, like just be a good person. And it's not that hard.
The strange thing
It
about some of these
seems like it
people,
must be hard.
what I don't get about the like Marjorie Taylor Greenes, and you're saying Candace Owens, if someone tells you, let's say you have a neighbor as an example, and half the time they sound very rational and they're really nice people to you and you get along, but half the other time they're lying to you. What is your takeaway from your neighbor? You're like, oh, that person's sketch because they're
Yeah.
constantly lying to me, even though they say some things that are truthful at times. And that's
Yep.
how I feel about a lot of these social media people is like, I don't expect people to just tell me what I want to hear or tell the truth or be decent people half the time. Like if I'm going to have a relationship with someone as a friend, you better be telling me the truth and being honest and forthright like all the time. Yeah, you're going to make some mistakes here or there. But as soon as you cross me or you do something and you lose my trust, your trust is gone. You're in like a whole different
Exactly.
bucket of people. So in social media is not viewed that way though, for some reason. We look at these social media people like Joe Rogan and half the time you agree with them. You're like, well, and Charlie Kirk's another great example. If you're a Christian, you loved what he said. You believed in championed family values and that was great. But you didn't hear all the discriminatory nonsense that he said. So you were just like, oh, I'm a fan of this guy, even though half the stuff that he said was just disgusting.
It's really, yeah, the Charlie Kirk thing is so insane to me. Like, I just don't, again, I live in a small community, so they're like buying Charlie Kirk sweatshirts around here.
Yeah.
It's really, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. This is, but even the things that he quote unquote did say about, it's almost like they're like, they make excuses for it or something. I don't know. That's so weird to me.
This fetish with supporting indecency, or in Trump's case, fetish with supporting creeps, is just mind-boggling from people that say they're for family values and Christian values, and yet they support all these people that have done just disgusting acts, right? They're just despicable human beings.
Well, you know what I think part of it is, I grew up in a very conservative home, and there was like this thing with like tough love. And so I think sometimes they felt like that about Charlie with some of the things that he said and did. Because I actually spent a lot of time like listening to his podcast after he died or whatever, because I wanted to like understand him and see if I was missing something. And I really did walk away going, no, he's still an asshole. But anyways, there is like this tough love thing that happens, especially within the Christian world of like, well, you aren't doing it the way that God would want you to do it, so we're going to tell you where you're wrong and where you're sinful because I love you. And yeah, so that's a culture. That's their culture in some ways. So that's why I think they
That's
embrace Charlie to a degree.
it's such a rocky road when they take that moral high ground and start acting like they're the arbiters of power and control and morals and ethics. It's diabolical.
It's so much ingrained in that Christianity though. If I'm a I call my I mean de, I've deconstructed or whatever. So anyways, it's so when you just don't question it, then you just start like just not questioning anything. Um anyways, I can go on and on and on about all this because it's really interesting and And I've had to really sit in my thoughts a lot. So
I think we all do.
I think
We're not
everybody
alone.
does deserve the chance to change, though, right? Like, even though Charlie Kirk, in your opinion, was an asshole, a good person will change their mind.
he was
Yes.
Someone
changing his
who's
mind about Israel. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word on the
Yeah,
on
we
the
just
thing,
go with
but
is because we don't know what to say.
is. Yeah,
if
okay, fair.
if your neighbor does something rude to you or is an asshole and it comes up and says, "Hey, I'm really sorry that I did that the other day. I apologize. It'll never happen again." You're more likely to be maybe you'd give them a second chance.
On a small
Yeah, sure.
transgression, like what you have a history of 10 or 15 years of doing something,
Sure,
I don't know. You like
that's different.
trust is lost in an instant and it takes, what's that expression? Like it takes a long time to build trust, right?
For
Although
sure.
one of my takeaways for Charlie Kirk though was that he was only 33 years old. I'm 44. Not that I'm like tons older or something, but he was only 30. Well, no, maybe he was younger than that. I don't remember. He was in his early 30s. Man, we grow
He's
as we
my
go.
age. He was 31.
Oh, okay, fair. But yeah, so we grow as we go. I feel like I'm such a different person than I was when I was 31.
Yeah.
So he didn't get enough time to really show his entire self.
He's sticking himself out there and doing a generation of harm. I don't know. It's complicated, right? So,
It is.
I always say, you hear this expression if you watch my lives before, people always tell you and show you who they are. You just have to watch and listen. And
Hmm.
Mm,
and unless they really repent, sort of speak in religious terms, or really go out on a tour and say, listen, I really screwed up and I'm really sorry. Like, if you just change your tune and you don't ever go through that, then I don't, again, I've been always a really good judge of character and integrity. Obviously, now being older, it's like I can meet someone usually, when I'm talking about moral integrity and stuff, and I'm not saying these are horrible human beings, but I always know whether that person within a minute I could ever be like trusted friends with, because they just tell you, versus someone who's
Yeah.
more like at arm's length, someone
Yeah.
that you could go out and have, enjoy their company, but you would never trust them with certain aspects of your life. And so I always have a hard time with someone, because, one of the biggest problems in all of our society, in American society in particular, and in politics, is no one says sorry. I made a mistake. Oops, I've
True.
changed my view because I learned a little bit more. We're so hardened and it's disgusting that no one is willing to say, I made a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, maybe.
Right. Like, did she say she made a mistake, or has she changed her
No,
tune? No, right?
no. She seems like she is, but she hasn't like come out right and said it. Or there's no indication that she's going to become a Democrat. Okay, I'm in Alaska, so I know Murkowski well. I've met her in
Mm.
person several times throughout my life. Whereas, Alaska's a small population, so you get the chance to meet people in situations. We in Ketchikan there was a landslide. I don't know if you guys saw it all over the news, but it was like a year ago or so. I live right in the neighborhood of that landslide, and so Murkowski came to town, and I even got to go into a session and talk to her. But anyways, the only reason I'm rambling again. But anyways,
You're all right.
anyways, for Murkowski, she has flip flopped so many times though. Like sometimes I'll have respect for her, and then other times I'm like, what? Come on, lady. Anyway,
Yeah.
she voted for the big beautiful bill, and when she did that, I was just like, are you kidding me? And she like exempted Alaska, but I was like, oh, I mean that's great, I guess, but I mean that's like that whole thing of like that's how I feel about most Republicans. I don't care what happens to you as long as it doesn't happen to me.
There's another person other than Murkowski, I think in New Hampshire,
Susan Collins.
Susan Collins from Maine, right? These people almost scare me more because they don't always apply to the rule I just said. People always tell you and show you who they are, because they're actually the really clever ones. Their actions obviously are really what you need to pay attention to, because what they say, and Susan Collins and Murkowski are those two people. Like, they say all the right things you want to hear for a while, and their actions go against everything they just said. And they're playing, like a two-dimensional game.
Well,
For
it's
real.
also
Yeah.
it's the difference between politics and civil service. Because politics is that inner game that we all don't get to see. Who's talking to who's sending messages, who's donating money, who's going out to dinner with who. You know, a lot of them are just trying to save their ass and
Well, they
get the
have to,
votes
right?
to
Because they
be,
have to get the money, and they have to answer to their party leaders, and then they have
yeah,
to, right? So
they don't they don't even have the opportunity to show their authentic self because they're too busy trying to stay alive and stay in the game.
right.
Oh, I
And
agree with that.
And that's
Yeah.
why Shadow
yeah,
here says, Shadowcat says exactly that's why the lobbying has to stop, right? Because you just
Yep.
don't know what their motives are. Like, are they answering to Are they answering to another foreign government? Are they answering to some corporation? Like, either even if it's the doctors union or, who knows? Like, it's just not transparent, and we're not going to, it is somewhat transparent, but there's a lot of dark money now, right? So we have no idea.
Yeah.
And they just don't
Well,
have, yeah, go ahead.
here's an interesting issue in Alaska is we have trawlers who are just dragging on the bottom of the ocean, right?
Mhm.
We're ripping the ocean apart. And most people, like normal people, are like, oh, we got to stop this. I can tell you from living in Alaska for the last, 30, 40 years of my life, because I've left and come back. But anyways, that the fishing has definitely changed, that we don't have the fish that we used to. And many people will tell you that it's a direct reflection of the trawlers. And we have asked Murkowski over and over and over again, I mean, of all the things that you're going to deal with, can you please deal with this? But obviously she's getting money from the corporation that does the trawling. Otherwise she would freaking deal with it because that's what the people want. And I would say that that is that's a bipartisan issue or nonpartisan issue. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and just so you know, you're not rambling. I feel like I'm rambling all the time as well. So, our thoughts coming into our heads. Go ahead, Mr. Global.
it's good to have these types of conversations. I mean, I feel like people aren't having them as often as they should be. It's always just this infighting, everybody screaming at each other. Fred's mad at us
Yep.
in the comments. It's just at some point we all have to put our guns down, our proverbial guns, and let's do something about it, you know?
So
Absolutely.
Sean here says, I just saw one of your videos. I don't know much about what you believe, but I think I know where he's going with it. And so I'm going to read into it a little bit. So Sean, you don't have to agree with every one of my points of view. Some of my thoughts are on specific issues, are personal opinions or observations. But what I suggest is the 28th Amendment and the 29th Amendment. That's what principally from a values perspective that I believe in. And I think that's the only thing that matters because that's just the one I think that everybody should rally around. The 28th Amendment banning all special interest money from our political system, from all the foreign interests, all the Christian nationals, the corporate dictators, and all corporate special lobbyists, and making sure being a politician is a temporary civic service. If you want to disagree with me on anything else, no sweat. But I hope you don't disagree with the 28th and 29th Amendment, because if we can just agree on those two things, everything else, we can let our new politicians, civic servants go to office, compromise on things, and figure out the hundreds of other issues that we should be solving instead of worrying about, let's say, abortion for 60 years, talking about the same thing and doing nothing. Like, that's the same arguments for 60 years. Like, it can be solved. 68% of Americans believe there should be some reasonable, accepted form of abortion. So whatever that might be, whatever you think it's 10 weeks or 15 weeks, I don't know the answer. I'm just saying there should be a compromise. I know the Christian nationals believe in, no compromise, no matter what, but that's not what most Americans believe in. So we fight about the same things for decades and decades and decades. And the only reason we don't resolve them because both parties don't let their people who are supposed to represent us actually fix the problem. It's not a hard solution. 89% of the people want federal universal background checks on guns, right? A lot of people want some form of health insurance. Like these so many issues that most people agree with, but we don't get them done.
Well, I hope you send me a friend request or whatever it is that we do on this thing. And because I would really like to get involved, but I have no idea how to get involved. And I'm like you, I don't want to become a politician. I'll get ripped apart. They'll find
Just
something dirty on me and they'll tell everybody.
talk about the things that TK is talking about. with people that want to talk to you about those things. New people, anybody. You just have to get that word out because it'll hit everybody's psyche and it becomes a consciousness and we all start pushing the same direction.
Yeah, why do I repeat the same thing every day over and over? It's because we're humans and we don't hear it the first time and it's just not clear. We have to, once you hear it once, you're like, okay, maybe twice, that's a good point. Third time, that's a really good point. And 7, 8, 9 times later, you're like, hey, I think they're onto something. What did I just happen, right?
Mhm.
It just has to be thousands of people trying to deflect back to the core issue instead of just diving into arguing about something, right? We're all being distracted, and that's hopefully there are thousands of people that over time that will do that. And if I inspire 10 people over time to start TikTok channels and YouTube channels to do the same thing, and one of them becomes wildly popular, then awesome. That helps go down that road.
You got to get people signing a pledge, TK. They got to sign the pledge. You need 5.
Yeah, then we sound like a political party, and people sign pledges and then don't follow through with the same pledges they agree to.
Well, they're gonna have to stick. We're gonna have to vet them, all right, and they're gonna have to follow some
Oh yeah,
rules,
we're gonna.
right?
If we did that, absolutely, there's gonna be more than just a pledge. There's
I know.
there's
I'm
gonna
just
definitely
teasing.
be some accountability.
Well, I am in a group here in Ketchikan that I immediately sent your video to when I saw it, and it got good responses. And I sent it to my one Trump friend, but I haven't seen his response to it yet. But he thinks that everything's fine. Like literally thinks everything's fine. So like, why would he want to do anything different?
Well,
Because everything's fine.
there was someone on YouTube yesterday that said, "I just watched your video, and my MAGA husband was completely in agreement." And I was like, "Huh, okay."
Huh.
So maybe we're reaching some people, and actually, it's not really a surprise because MAGA. If you think about it, MAGA. Many of MAGA voted or believed in the drain the swamp, right? They truly wanted an anti-establishment person, just like Bernie is, but obviously on the right. And because he was considered an outsider, even though he was president before, that's a different topic. But they really believed drain the swamp, and they took that risk. They changed. And to me, I think what they thought, and I've heard people talk about this, is drain the swamp means these infiltrators in our government, foreign agents, corporate special interests, could be the is, and even like these corporate monarchs or the corporate dictators. Like that's the swamp. Like that's the grotesque part of our government is all the money in government. And I don't think a lot of MAGA really know or even thought about the depth of what the swamp really meant, because you never hear Trump talk about what is actually the swamp. It's not the regular American that works for the IRS or that's inspecting bridges or that's doing road work. Like that's not the swamp.
Right.
The swamp has to be something
Well,
else.
I think they think that he's doing exactly that because I've been trying to wrap my brain around what they think is going on right now. And I think they think that all the firings that are going on in the government, because when Elon was doing his Doge thing, I like sounded the alarm and my entire Republican family was like, oh, we're cool with this. We love this. And I was like, wait, what? You're cool with this? And it blew my mind. And so I started trying to think about it. Like, why are you cool with this? But that's what I think they think. That's what I think they think is draining the swamp is everything that Elon is doing, and then the fact that they're firing all these people, and then even with the government shutdown, I think they love the fact that Trump's firing even more people because it's all part of the plan, isn't it? And
Trump.
Defunding public radio and all the weird things that are going on right now, isn't that all part of draining the swamp somehow?
Oh, that's all part of Project 2025. When you really look at it, the most nuance they get is the people behind the scenes of Project 2025. That's mostly the Christian nationals. That's what they are
They don't
doing.
think that Project 2025 is real. Still don't think that is real because I got in a big one with my sister who told me that it wasn't real. But anyways, yeah.
You
Trump
can't,
just stole.
as you know, you can't reason with irrational people. So you just have to hope they come around.
Yeah.
Trump just stole the line of thinking to get himself into the position that he's in, and it's all going to backfire because he's just a master marketer. He knows how to get people's attention.
Yeah.
So it will eventually all come to a head, and he's going to have to answer for it because
That's the thing that I don't know if that's true. I would like that to be true if it was just him, but he's not the one really pulling the other strings that are really dismantling the safeguards of government. He's just oblivious to really what he doesn't care. Like he's not going to be around that much longer. He just, he made $190 million in crypto last week. So what does he care?
They think he's a deity. Like they literally worship him like he's the return.
He's the
And it's just
Caesarean figure. Remember that person said he's the Caesarean figure.
and
Well,
I
he's the
to be
one.
honest, I don't know
He's
what that means.
Neither did
What
I.
does that mean?
Think Caesar.
he's the face of it all. But yeah, I agree that it's the other
Oh,
people behind it.
Yeah, so they think he's the Caesarean figure, not a Caesar, but so he's the guy that transitions Rome from a republic to an imperial empire. So that's when there used to be some representation, and then Caesar came and sort of took hold of power and eradicated the Senate and any of the sort of minor republic democracy type things that they had in the republic.
interesting.
So yeah, so that
It goes much deeper.
it always does with those religious cults. All right, I'm going to take one last.
Yeah.
So thank you, Char. Thanks for joining. Please, I hope you continue to share, and we'll see what happens over time, right?
Yeah, sounds good. Have a good one.
Thank you, Char.
You too. Hey, 92 people, TK. Look at that.
Solid. We're holding in their
Consistent.
string. Yeah, thanks. And I saw you post that 30,000 likes. So thanks for doing that, Mr. Moderator.
You bet. I'm trying.
Yeah, everybody, thanks for the hanging in. I know these lives are long. I don't expect people to hang in that long, but I'm really appreciative when people do, because the lives do help grow the audience, and I actually like doing them. The videos get way more views, generally, a lot more reach. But the videos, I'm talking into a
Right.
camera, right? It seems impersonal. I'm starting to feel like when I'm speaking into the camera, I'm actually speaking to this community, because I've spent so much time now in the community, actually starting to get to the point where actually I feel like I'm speaking to people, but that didn't come easy. That's taken a lot of time. It's very awkward,
Yeah.
but I still do the lives more because the lives, I'm actually really talking to people. I know there's people behind the scenes, unless they're all bots. Are you guys all bots? You let me know in the comments, the bot machine.
They might be. Who knows? We'll take them. We'll take the bots. Fred's here, so we know the bots are here. If Fred's here.
Fred, are you a paid bot? Like which country are you being paid by? Is it in the future? No. All right, mine's so haha, not a bot. Oh, Nikki, that's just like what a bot would say, Nikki Ollie. I see. Oh, an Arcadia, not a bot. Definitely a bot. They're all bots.
NPCs.
So anyway, the lives get a lot less reach, but I'm speaking to real people. It helps get more comfortable doing these things since we haven't been doing these things a long time. So I do appreciate everybody. Beep bop.
31,000. Look at that. Holy smokes.
How do you even see that? I don't see that.
Top left corner under your name, you're at 31.2.
Oh, that's likes?
Yep.
I'm such a rookie. Even though it's like 6 months now, 5 months, and I
That's
still don't know what the heck's going on.
that's part of the algorithm. Some guys will be like, "Hey, I'm not talking anymore unless you give me 10,000 likes."
But I think 29,600 of those are myself hitting the screen.
No,
I just
don't
sit
think
there.
you
I
can
just
do
sit there
that.
tapping the screen.
Hey, it works.
Thanks, everybody. Not a bot. I was kidding, of course, by the bots. I really appreciate you being here. Not a bot, just concerned about Americans who want to educate in politics and civics. Again, if you have any random civics questions, again, I'm not a civics expert, but I've been studying geopolitics and cultures and civics and the Constitution for quite some time now. So I'm certainly not an expert. I am a student of, and more importantly, an advocate. And, in 8th grade, when I started learning these things, like, I didn't care. I was just a little 8th grade punk like the rest of us when we're that age, right? So, but at some point, these things actually become really cool when you get a little older and a little wiser and you start looking back at your life, and then you see what has changed since, when I was a little optimistic teenager to a pretty frustrated, middle-aged. So,
Do you celebrate Halloween, TK?
oh, of course. Come on.
You're gonna have to dress up as George Washington. I'll be Thomas Jefferson
Oh, wow.
for Alive.
Yeah, but I can't afford the masks and so forth because of the tariffs.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
All right. I mean,
Never mind.
hey, Arcadia, I'm
I
Gen
just
X. I'm a Gen Xer. Let's just leave it at that.
I thought you said you were a pilot.
I am a pilot, not a professional pilot. I've been
Oh.
a private pilot. I haven't been flying that much lately. Either though I did fly a few months ago in a jet. I flew a jet for my first time.
Really?
Mm.
Very cool.
After not flying for like 8 years, which was super cool. It's like riding a bike though. Just came back. Except for the crash landing.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I used to not have an issue with flying, and then as of recently, I do. So,
Yeah, as I get older, I do as well. I'm much more cautious. I've had some not close calls, but I've had some things happen in smaller airplanes and stuff where you have little mini emergencies, and you look back on those and you're like, that could have been worse. So thanks for following, Rob. Thanks for following the live. Thanks for the likes, everybody. 34,700. Really awesome. Does anyone want to ask any questions on civics, or does anyone want to say in case you don't know, I always promote 2 amendments. Today was more about the 28th, but the 29th needs to be that career. Being a politician should not be a career. I think most people agree with that as well. It should be temporary. That's how founding fathers, look at us slurring after a couple hours. That's how the founding fathers expected politics to be, a temporary civic responsibility. It was never supposed to be a career. That's an important distinction that most people don't realize. And in most cases, I can't find many things that, other than the flawed humans that they were, that everybody loves to discredit them about. And they should, they're human beings. But trying to discredit them in order to then discredit the document they created, even though at that time it was still flawed, 3/5, if you're black, you only had 3/5 of a vote, right? And if you're property owner originally, you could only vote. But all those things change with time, like this document was supposed to change with time. So that's really important. It's not who they were at that time. It's what they thought they would like to be as a society going forward, because they really could have just put in an oligarchy because they were the rulers. They were the ruling class. They could have created an authoritarianship and an oligarchy. They could have controlled everything if they really wanted to. They had no reason personally to do what they did. Other than they had morals and they had values and they wanted a different vision. So I don't know who you're calling traitors, Dave. If you're calling, I don't know, what do you think comes next? Do you think
what
there
do you
will be
think
another
comes
civil war?
next? Yeah.
Oh, against all these traitors. I get it, Dave. Sorry. Let's not. No, I don't. I don't think it will come to, well, it depends. I think it's possible it could come to that kind of violence, but there's so much control of money in the narrative. And that's the point. Think about when you control the entire narrative, because 4 billionaires control most of the media and social media. And when you have all the money and you actually have a large group of people that support anything that you do, it might get hard to do anything like, Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence that if you petition your government and you don't get the change that you want, you should abolish it or change it. And he implied that at some point, if it's not working for the people have the responsibility to change it. And he used the term abolish it. The problem is, just like you see in Russia, when you control all the security forces and you control all the money and you control the narrative, you might get to a place where everyone becomes submissive. And of course, you'll have little breakouts of violence here and there, but I'm not confident, and I wouldn't want it to go there. I think there's a way that we can still do this without anything nefarious, like to do it through peaceful power. But yesterday's No Kings protest, let me give you a point of view for those of you that are still here. I didn't go to No Kings. And it's for one reason. One, I don't ever want to be pegged. I have a different goal, an objective in mind. And while I do think we're headed very much in the wrong direction, and if we want a stay of execution, it would be better for the country, no doubt about it, to vote blue next time. No doubt about it. That if you want a stay of execution for a democracy, the Democrats have to win. And you might say, well, you're a liberal. No, it's a stay of execution for a democracy. That's how I view it. It won't change anything long term because the Democrats will only go back to legislating some human rights things, which are really important, and some other aspects. And the right-wing propaganda machine and other people will still be upset because we'll probably be talking about a lot of cultural values type stuff, cultural war type stuff. And the pendulum will swing back even harder the next time. Or things might get the V word. And ultimately, I don't think that's where anything gets better. I think the chasm of the swing just gets bigger and bigger. So ultimately, I think we have to do something truly transformational where everybody comes together behind the money, right? Because we're all being sort of puppet masters, using their narrative and using their money to get us to be divided with one another. And those puppet masters in the middle are compromising us as a society. So I don't think it leads anywhere good if the pendulum just swings the other way. I think it temporarily moves things in a little bit of safer direction for democracy, but it's not true. Like this person's saying, it's not true reform.
They say violence usually only comes if there's famine. Like true revolutions and war usually happens when there's like a true
Yeah.
famine. So if we're not gonna, if we have food, we've got technology, they keep us distracted, and football and all the other stuff that we got going on. I mean, the hypnosis is working.
Yeah, the exploitation of sports on the weekends where people are frustrated all week long and they look to the weekends to have their little downtime and something they can enjoy, even though they're spending a ton of money on it and a ton of time. But it keeps people relatively, it keeps the sort of herd in check.
Keeps them asleep. They sleeping.
Yep. Because they have something to look forward to on the weekends and they have their house, so they might have they're not completely starving, even though some people are, but a lot of people are still doing okay. So I don't think so.
Majority.
Yeah. Dave, that's why Trump said all you have to do is vote for me one last time and you'll never have to vote again. That's right. Like, that's scary. Like, again, people tell you who they are. You just have to listen. Like, every time he blames someone else for something he did, it's just, what is it called? It's just really what he did, right? When he says that a person's a disgusting person, he's just reflecting on himself.
Projecting, yeah.
Projecting. Our forefathers would like another civil war should they be alive right now. That is the truth. I don't know. Democrats need new young blood. True. I agree. But again, I don't think this is a Democrat-Republican issue because both parties have been fully compromised. They're both compromised. I understand you think one is less compromised or one actually cares about people and human rights, and that is true. But they're still just going to go back to legislating a few things here and there, like healthcare and a few other things, and they're never going to address the root cause because that root cause is money, and they're getting money as well. And the party leaders or the party infrastructure, that's the rot. The deep rot is in all these parties, deep down. It's not the individual politicians because both parties have individuals that are decent people that want to do something. They don't get the voice.
Well, fundamentally, they can change their party affiliation. So they can be Republican one year and then they can change to be a Democrat or, like you can't pin that. You can't use that as your argument, It's a Republican or Democrat thing.
All right. What do you think? We wrap it up? You're past midnight on your time?
Yeah, I've got a doctor's appointment in the morning, so.
Oh,
But I
and the
appreciate you
surveillance
having
thing.
me on. It's always fun.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you always joining. I think I'm going to try and do some more regularly scheduled things and actually schedule them so maybe people get announced then. I have to try different things, right? And we need to make you a formal moderator because actually I did some reading that has a potential to help the algorithm spread it to more people. But
Well,
something
I'd
we can
love to do
test.
that for you.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. All right, well, thanks
Thank you,
everybody.
Kate.
So I'll take the last vote. So do you guys want to hear? I don't know. I'm not going to do a vote tonight. Newsroom, Steve Jobs. Did you hear the Ted Lasso? Oh, Mr. Glover, you're gone. Okay. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to do the newsroom one. It's by far my favorite. If you're new to this, I always play an inspirational clip from some show or movie. I only have 4 right now. I need to have more. So if you have any ideas of some sort of unity message that some movie or show has had that I can take the audio from, I'm going to do the newsroom because I did Ted Lasso earlier today. I've done the Steve Jobs one. I don't love the American president one because it's very left-leaning, even though I thought it was an inspirational speech. So I'm going to leave everybody with the newsroom one again. So this was the opening monologue to the newsroom. Yes, Jeff Daniels about democracy. I apologize to those of you that are here often and that you have to listen to it, but I don't know. I don't ever get tired of it. I think it's just a beautiful thing about the state of even applies today, even it was a monologue from about 11 years ago. What's the American president one? Well, it was when, what's his name? I don't know. If you want to stick around, I'll play both in case. I'm going to do the newsroom one, and then I'm going to play the American president one. And then you can let me know in the comments if you care. Actually, no, I'm just going to do American president and then newsroom. So I think the American president one is shorter. I just listened to it once. Keep in mind, it is a little left-leaning, which is not bad. It's actually good. It's just like I like to take a very neutral approach and make sure it's a message of unity. But it does apply because it's about going after his adversary. That was Martin Sheen, by the way. Martin Sheen plays the American president. So let's listen to this one first. Let's get on with it.
America is advanced citizenship. You've got to want it bad because it's going to put up a fight. It's going to say, you want free speech? Let's see you acknowledge a man whose words make your blood boil, who's standing center stage and advocating at the top of his lungs that which you would spend a lifetime opposing at the top of yours. You want to claim this land as a land of the free? Then the symbol of your country cannot just be a flag. The symbol also has to be one of its citizens exercising his right to burn that flag in protest. Now show me that. Defend that. Celebrate that in your classrooms. Then you can stand up and sing about the land of the free. I've known Bob Rumson for years, and I've been operating under the assumption that the reason Bob devotes so much time and energy to shouting at the rain was that he simply didn't get it. Well, I was wrong. Bob's problem isn't that he doesn't get it. Bob's problem is that he can't sell it. We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them. And whatever your particular problem is, I promise you, Bob Rumson is not the least bit interested in solving it. He is interested in 2 things, and 2 things only: making you afraid of it and telling you who's to blame for it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you win elections.
Well, that is certainly applicable to today, isn't it not? Again, I don't care where you stand. That is applicable. And now let's finish it up with the newsroom because it's my favorite and I never get tired of it.
Check, but he gets to hit you with it anytime he wants. It doesn't cost money. It costs votes. It costs airtime and column inches. You know why people don't like liberals? Because they lose. If liberals are so fucking smart, how come they lose so goddamn always? Hey. And with a straight face, you're going to tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom? Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom. All right. And yeah, you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander